I'm calling this meeting to order. My name is Fred Baptiste. I am here serving as the chair of the Public Safety Committee. The time is now 7:02. So we are now gathering in. If I could ask just very quickly if the members of the committee could just introduce themselves.
Ronald Banks, resident member, community member.
Slaki Hodgkin, community member.
Malka Lavana Butler, community member.
Shania Hartley, board member.
Okay. And with that, I hear a quorum. So we have a quorum of the committee here present. All right. So we are rolling right along. We are going, now that we have a quorum, I'm actually going to ask to approve the agenda. We're going to move it around just a little bit from what's printed. So my request is for the following items. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5 are fine. I would ask that number 6, number 6 would be NYPD when they arrive. Number 7 would be the liquor licenses. We'll do
Okay,
that.
all right, and then we'll discuss.
And then number 8 will go into the criteria, and then
Right.
9 will be adjourned.
Okay.
Okay?
Approved.
All right, so any objection to approving the agenda as stated? Okay, hearing none, agenda is adopted. Thank you. Okay, now, number 4 will be the approval of the minutes. So part of what we're doing from now on is we're having all the committees approve their minutes. So we have 2 sets actually for this evening. There's one set from November 14th. I'm not sure, I was not here.
That's when you were out.
Right. So I'm not sure if we did that in December. Are we?
No, because it had been updated. We did it in December, but it was not clear and concise.
Okay.
And then when it came to my call out at the general meeting,
Right.
so.
Okay. All right. So listen, so everyone has a copy of the November minutes. Have you had an opportunity to review?
If I had them in my phone, yeah, I read that.
Okay. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made to the minutes?
Oh, it is corrected, and we'll talk during our application process, but yes, it was corrected.
Okay.
Because something was missing.
Okay. All right. So unless there are any corrections, so we consider this adopted?
Yes.
Okay. So the November minutes are adopted. Thank you very much for that. All right. So the next set is the January minutes, which also went as well. Have members had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any corrections to the January minutes?
Nope, everything was covered.
Okay. All right. Hearing no corrections, so we can consider this common consent. No objection. Minutes are adopted.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So the minutes for January and November are adopted. Thank you very much for that. All right, we are rolling right along. So item number 3 would be the rules of order. We're going to waive the reading of the rules of order. All we're saying is we're here in the spirit of discussion and conversation. We just ask that everyone is respected. We just ask that everyone please make sure we wait to be recognized by the chair. I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, and we can have a civil dialogue and debate as necessary. But that means that I just want for everybody to be patient. Even when we disagree, I understand there might be faces or we might have vehement disagreement, but let somebody finish their point. And by that same right, we ask that we're going to ask that same courtesy for you as well when everybody's recognized. Okay. All right. We are now going to go into. I'm sorry. We did a rule of order. Done. Item 4. Okay. We are now at item 5. We are pleased to have with us a representative of FDNY this evening. FDNY, right?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Okay. If you would come and introduce yourself. We've asked FDNY, this has been a conversation, to talk a little about lithium battery safety. We know it's a big issue. I know that we've seen the horrific headlines in the news about fires and the loss of life. So we wanted to kind of, as a public safety committee, get a little bit more educated on what's out there and what the issues are, to kind of guide further conversations. So with that being said, we turn the floor over to you. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to find the perfect place in the room to stand where my back
Stand
is to no one, so I
right
think
back
I'm gonna
there.
be,
Oh, you're all right? Okay.
I'm okay, the eye and the TV are okay. Good evening, everyone, my name is Sandra Sanchez, I'm the Director of Community Affairs for the Fire Department for New York City, and I'm glad to be here with you. It's a little bit of a coordination for some evening meetings, but happy to be with you nonetheless, as we are here in the midst of winter. There are so many points that come to mind when we think about winter, fire safety. It's getting colder, it's snow, something is always happening that we are always advocating and sharing proactive knowledge and I think education with the community, because when you call 911, we'll always be there. But for the most part, you never call to say, hey, how are you? It's because there's a need and there's an emergency. So fire safety education, we do our diligence in sharing, I think, tips that we can apply within our homes, within our workspaces, to not only keep ourselves safe, but our family and our homes and belongings safe as well. So as we are in winter, I want to start with some winter fire safety tips with the additional cooking that is taking place in the home. We're asking that everyone just be very mindful, particularly if you're cooking and there are small children around. You have a no child zone because they get everywhere. I have a nephew now. He's everywhere, and sometimes I don't know where he is. So you make sure that you have a child-free zone, that you're mindful. I love candles. Number 2, I love candles. I love the smell, the aroma of candles. But you want to be very mindful if you have small children. I'm not using my candle when my nephew's here. Also, what we don't think about is that, particularly if you live in older homes and they tend to be drafty, you don't need to have a small child or a pet to see that they would knock said candle over. It may just be like it may just be a gust of wind, or you pulling a door in a room too hard. So we're asking that not only as we are using candles, consider using flameless candles. They do come scented now, much to my surprise and glee. They do come scented, so the idea of, oh, it's just a plain candle, I won't get the warm vanilla scent, not so. They do exist, and they're very functional as well. The third thing that we want to share with you is space heaters. It's cold, the weather's dropping at times, and we understand the need for New Yorkers to be warm. But at the same token, there are just ways that are not safe. Number 1 is leaving the oven door open. You are exposing yourself to toxins, chemicals, carbon monoxide, and that is truly a silent killer. You can't smell it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but what we do know is that if it's permeates within a room, you're not getting us. The second thing also we want to keep in mind, and something a little less, I think, obvious, is your space heater. Anything heating or cooling in this instance, a space heater is not meant to function 24/7. We do not care what that box says, what they sold to you, what they have advertised, can run 24 hours. No heating or cooling device is meant to be operational 24 hours. If you've ever touched a space heater that has been running for an inordinate amount of time, it's hot to the touch. It may even be difficult to pick up and or to move. Though it may be inconvenient, we recommend unplugging it if you're leaving the room. Certainly, if you are not home, if an adult is not present, it should not be operational, because again, you want to have your eyes, you want to have your ears. If there's a spark, if there's a funny smell that's coming from it, you want to be very mindful, and we suggest that you inspect your appliances. Just like anything else, when it comes time to using it, you look to see if the wires are frayed. If they are, it's certainly time to get rid of it. And I believe they still exist, because I saw one at a family member's house. The kerosene heaters, the heaters that literally that you can probably grill a sandwich from the front of that. You should not be able to purchase those in New York City, but if you be very mindful, you can get severe burns from those space heaters as well. But the hot topic of the season throughout the year has been lithium-ion batteries. Unfortunately, it has risen. Last year, it was the leading cause of fires throughout New York City. And if you were to compare this about 6-7 years ago, you'd be like, lithium-ion, huh? But everyone here knows that most of our devices, our phones, laptops contain lithium-ion, but more specifically, we're talking about electrical mobility devices, because those lithium-ion batteries are bigger, and it's up to the owner, particularly, to be charging it consistently and for the use of it. One thing that I will say is that, again, it's about practicality. We are aware, we do recommend as an agency, where possible, to charge your lithium or your e-micromobility device outside. But we're also very, I think, practical and logical, that if you're to keep your e-bike outside, it may become a holiday gift. It may become someone else's Valentine's Day gift, let's say that. So if there's no other choice than to keep them in your homes, number one, we recommend that you use the charger that came with the device. There's a reason why sometimes I think that we use our phones as that litmus test. Like, hey, my phone charger isn't working. I'm just gonna go by to the nearby store, to the nearby. Let me not list any store, but to a nearby store, and just pick up a cheaper one versus going to the Apple store versus going to your provider store where there's a noticeable increase in price. The same is true when it comes to it's important that you are using the charger that it was meant to use. Can another charger work for it? Yes. But you want to know that when you're thinking to yourself, why is this e-bike so expensive? And when I look on another website, we're not talking about dollars. We're talking about hundreds of dollar difference. Please do not sacrifice your safety. Do not sacrifice your family's safety for the simple fact of just a couple of $100s. We want to make sure that the devices that you're using are UL tested. That's the Underwriters Laboratory. So again, this is a well-known, I want to say, international testing system. They're constantly looking at devices, putting testing them in different environments, because certainly the climate of New York City is not like that of Florida consistently. You will be using your e-bike in the middle of the snow, where that may not be the case in other states. So it's been tried, it's been true, it's been tested, and you have something to say that there's some safety standard that is met here, whereas in some I think in some non-UL tested or non-certified devices, you do not have I think that safety net. This is not to say with all things that they're not able to malfunction, but again, there is that tested safety net, that banner that you may feel a little bit more secure. When it came to statistics in 2024, so just last year, 277 fires were started by lithium-ion batteries, and unfortunately that led to 6 fatalities. But nevertheless, that was a significant drop than what we saw in 2023, where there were 18 fatal fires as a result to lithium-ion batteries. But we are out here, we're educating. If you have outdoor facing events, I think sometimes there are different hubs where e-bikes congregate. They take a break, or that just may be, I think to myself of Atlantic Avenue, right across from the Barclays, where you have the trifecta of like Chick-fil-A, Shake Shack, and a little. I think across the street you have like Chip City, right? So again, it's a big hub, but we are out there. We're educating our fellow e-bike owners about not only about charging it, but where do you store it as well. You want to make sure that any device, nothing should be blocking, be it your e-bike, be it a regular bike, it's blocking your form of egress. Oftentimes we don't think what happens in the case of emergency and we need to run, but you need to always make sure, and the truth of the matter that most of our emergencies happen in the middle of the night. So we're hoping that it's during the daytime. It's going to be a sunny day. The sun will be shining, so I'll know to leap over this way and to quickly shuffle outside of my home. But we always say to make sure that as you are charging, as you are storing your battery, that you are not storing in a place that if something were to malfunction, now you would be trapped because that was your main exit out. So we're asking that as you are charging, as you are keeping, make sure that your points of egress remain clear, and much like many appliances, that you inspect it. You inspect it. Just don't take it for granted that nothing has happened. But if there's been inclement weather, it's been too hot, too extreme weather, too hot, too cold, that you take a moment to inspect the battery itself. And should you need to discard of the battery, you cannot throw it in your just regular disposal for sanitation. There's a special pickup or a special place where you can drop it off. Because what we've also seen is that, unbeknownst to sanitation, when they put it in their compactor, the compactor has an upset stomach, let's say that. ends up with an upset stomach. So we want to make sure that even in our discarding of these lithium-ion batteries, that we are keeping our neighbors safe. We are keeping our fellow civil servants safe as well. That's my spiel. I didn't want to go over too much time because I know you have a robust agenda, but I do want to share with you some of the statistics for Community Board 9, specifically as it relates to fire. So for structural fires in Community Board 9, there were 36. This is for the month of January 2025. Non-structural fires, there were 34. Medical emergencies, 362. Non-medical emergencies, 310, bringing the total amount of incidents in the confines of Brooklyn Community Board 9 for the month of January 2025 to be 742. To put that in perspective, for the entire borough of Brooklyn, there were 16,458. So you placed 742. Your part was 742, but we're over 16,000 in the borough of Brooklyn for the month.
Could you repeat, what was the number for the non-medical emergencies?
Non-medical emergencies, 310.
What was the month before or previous year? Like, what are we comparing to?
So, I can compare year to date now, but previous month, I actually have to go back and do that comparison. So, year to date, comparing this to January 2024, there's a slight increase. There was a decrease in medical emergencies and non-medical emergencies. So a decrease in medical emergencies and an increase, a nominal increase as it relates to structural fires.
What is a medical emergencies according to the FDNY? Is that 911 and they call an ambulance? Like, what does the FDNY get involved with? How do they get it?
EMS suite. So FDNY is both not only fire operations but EMS. So we can report out on our emergency medical services. So when an ambulance comes, that comes through our
So
dispatch.
those would be from 911 calls or just from?
This would be from 911 calls, yes.
When we say structural, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
One question, then we're gonna go around. We'll when we say structural versus non-structural, what do we mean when we say that?
Structural fires are usually fires that take place in residential structures and homes, office spaces maybe, whereas non-structural may be in other,
Park.
Arjan Park, brush fire, which was a little, which has since calmed down, but was a thing somewhere in October 2020.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry about that. Who has questions? I'll tell you what, let's do this. We're gonna go around the table, we'll allow the committee, and I saw you had a question too, so we'll allow you that from an opportunity. Ms. Wilson, do you have any questions? Ms. Hartley?
I do. So back to the lithium batteries and the structures that hold it, most often pipes. What is the recommendation if you see it, say, in a apartment lobby or in a commercial space or in a space? It's the recommendation that, say, the bike should not be there, it should be parked outside. What has been sort of the standard operating procedure? What's recommended?
So it should be, if you are not able to put it inside inside your residence, because we are not able to, the same way in which that I'm not able to go to Mr. Baptiste's home and inspect it as a member of the fire department. It's the same that exists. It's the same standard that exists for your apartment, your actual apartment or your condo. But it's not meant to be kept in general open areas, i.e., the lobby of your building.
So recommendation, contact owner and/or building management.
Yes, first you should contact building management because building managers do have the discretion. You will find in some building places where they outright tell you if it's not a mobility device, like you're using it to function as in a wheelchair, it's not permitted to be to be inside their building.
Okay, anyone else? Are we going to?
Yeah, we're just gonna go around. You have any questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Butler?
No more questions.
Again, my question is similar to the lithium, is disposal. Like, I'm talking specifically about computers. Because I have a number of old computers, of course, they have the little lithiums in and so I wanna get rid of them. So I wanna take out the batteries. What is the procedure since we don't put them in a normal trash can, we don't put them in recycle?
When I sit down, we'll take a look on where it says you're able to drop it. If you're unsure of items that you may think can be combustible, I'll check and see where on their website they tell us. But I think I don't
I
think they have.
actually looked this up last night.
Yeah.
You can drop them off at like a Staples or a Best Buy, and they will take
They
them
will take
without
the
a
batteries.
charge.
Okay, good, that's great.
And then I know twice a year, sort of like a spring clean or fall clean.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then that comes up in our newsletters for our community, but, yeah.
And we have, just as a plug, CB9 has actually partnered with local elected officials to do e-waste stand for lithium
Okay.
battery disposal as well. So that is something that,
Cause I have a couple of them too.
absolutely.
Cause they're sitting there, and it
Yeah.
just dawned on me this afternoon, cause I have it in the closet, I'm like, whoa, this has to go out. I'm afraid one day it might, it's on top of another one and another one. You know how we get old, you get outdated, and you know, the computers you kept 5 years ago, Okay, I digress.
Ms. Cohen, did you have a question for me?
No, thank you, you asked before, she answered me, thank you.
Okay, sir, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, as an operator, what do you suggest if someone who's operating an e-bike wants to come in, but wants to bring the bike inside? I mean, it's the scooter things.
Seems
the
like
little-
a restaurant.
I mean, they don't wanna keep it outside, they don't wanna
So,
leave it outside.
as an operator, you have the discretion to say what is not permitted inside your business. Never have I ever had to bring my car inside the restaurant with me. We
No,
never
but
have.
someone would steal your car, but someone
No.
would steal
But
a
again, the
scooter.
same thing with a bicycle, depending on the size and
size.
ability. Like I would love to bring my bike, but in the case that I'm not able to, I have a bike chain in which I'll be able to secure nearby if there's a bike rack, to make sure that it's not a gift to an elderly partner.
And if I can, I don't know, I'm thinking if I was eating at an establishment and someone came in with the e-bike, I'd be uncomfortable with that. Cause you take your shoes off when you come in the house. If you bring a bike into an establishment that you're eating in and it's sitting there while he's doing whatever, I think that's a little unsanitary. So I think that's alone is a consideration.
Well, I just wanna make sure,
Yeah.
that if I jump in, if we differentiate between, you don't want somebody's bike next to your table after they've just been riding down Nostrand Avenue. If it's a mobility device, that might be
That's
something
different.
different.
Right, and that, you don't wanna violate ADA.
Right, that might be an ADA thing,
Yeah.
it might be a customer service thing where you want somebody, but I think usually the issue becomes if they wanna charge it.
And they're regulated differently. At the moment, so the e-bikes, whereas it's very rare that you're finding a wheelchair per se that has not, because of its functionality, that has not been tested time and time again, and that is tried and true.
Right.
Whereas we've just seen just a surge of lithium ion e-micromobility devices that has not risen to that standard of of ADA and hospitals and all of those functions.
Does that answer your question, sir? If I can ask just one last question, so now is FDNY proposing, or is the city looking at any additional rules around this as well, or?
We are always updating our fire. we are the constant update of our fire code and what it looks like for storage. I know that the city as a whole, we are working we've been working collaboratively, interagency wise, because it's not only it becomes a major issue when it comes to fire, to the actual fire-matic part of it. But DOT, Department of Transportation, is cognizant of what is on their roads. MTA, what's inside your what may be inside their subway trains. So it is a big interagency effort, and the fact that we are looking at different ways to regulate, to standardize, that is where our hat is, to make sure that there is a common standard, that in a few years that we can say no, this must have this mark. We know that this is reputable.
Right.
And all that.
Okay, all right, thank you so much, we really appreciate you having us, that was a lot of information
Do you
and
have
it's
the
great.
contact information?
I
Or
do
we can
have
get it?
that contact information. You have all my contact information, but I'll be sure I'm reachable. So if you want a more extended presentation. We are available, our fire safety education team, as well as our mobile CPR team. We do go out into the community and we do trainings. We go out to help, you name it. If you're having something that's public facing, we're able to be there. We work with all the vulnerable populations, so small children, older adults. We will meet you where you are. And my email is sandra.sanchez@fdny.nyc.gov.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Sanchez, thank you so much for that
My
wonderful
pleasure.
presentation. And the door is always open, so we'll probably look for you and come here and be a regular visitor.
Okay, thank you.
For the summertime, how did you say the barbecue season?
Oh.
Tell me, the data you gave us for the fires, is that something we can get on a monthly basis? I mean, you don't necessarily have to come in every month,
Yes.
but is that something you can send over?
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll try to make sure we keep that as
That's
well.
great.
All right, thank you so much again, appreciate that. Okay, all right, so just for the record as well, we want to note that members Lorianne Wolseley and Eve Harvey Cohen has also joined us as well, so you're noted for their attendance as well. Okay, all right, just to check, is there a representative for NYPD with us this evening? Okay, as we don't have them yet, we will come back to them should they arrive. All right, so we are now going to go to item number 7, the renumbered item number 7. Ms. Cohen and Ms. Wolseley, we've actually renumbered a little bit
Yeah.
because we wanted to get the
Yeah.
presentations up first. But,
So what is number
we're at number
7?
9, we're adjourning.
Yeah, Jerry. What is number 7?
Okay, so number 7
Criteria.
is the New York State liquor license.
Criteria for
applications.
SLA applications, what
Yes.
was that?
We have 2 of them this evening. So on the agenda, I know it shows 1, there are 2 applications for this evening.
Right.
Okay, so first one we're gonna be considering is for Antilles Cafe at 1170 Nostrand Avenue, Rutland, cross streets of Rutland Road and Fenimore Street. This application is for a new wine, beer, and cider license. Do we have a representative from Antilles Cafe with us this evening?
There's 2 of them. 2 of them. Oh, wow.
What happened? Was this what
I came from somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
I visited there last night.
All right, you know what, no one would have you come here, but it's okay, you can actually do it from your seat, so if you just want to present, go ahead, you can tell us a little bit about the establishment and your operations.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Eric Nicolo.
I'm Drew.
Hey.
Jason, owner of the Antilles Cafe. It's kind of a long story of how we got here, but not necessarily long, but
They sitting?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, because there's 3 of them, instead of having them come over.
Okay.
So I figured we just let them sit. That's all right.
Is it better if we stand up?
It's fine. I'm totally fine with it. It's just a little bit different from our usual thing. It's okay.
well, just a little bit of history of how we got this started. I've been working in the restaurant industry about 2 decades. Drew has worked in the restaurant industry, vamping bars, nightclubs. I was working at the Bodega Lounge, and we noticed that there wasn't a food program, so I started cooking in their storage side. And one day I went to Drew to ask him for some advice on how to write a proposal to take over that space to make it a restaurant. And at the end of the conversation, we ended up becoming business partners and started work the next day. It took us about 8 weeks for the build out, and that's how we got here.
Antilles Cafe is a Caribbean cafe and bistro.
And we specialize in our interpretation of Haitian and Dominican cooking. I'm Haitian.
I'm Dominican.
And the menu's really interesting. We're both chefs. It's a chef-inspired menu on, I guess, some chef-inspired menu that has Dominican and Haitian classics, that has simple food but really elevated ingredients. I'll say that.
So we are both fraternity brothers.
Oh, yeah.
We went to college in Miami, Johnson and Wales. I studied culinary arts and hospitality management. And Eric did.
Food service management, restaurant management.
Which
Okay.
fraternity?
Lamb Sigma Epsilon.
So the 3 of us are fraternity
Yes.
He's
Stories that come at the end. I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
I have an opinion.
It's sorry.
I'm wondering where he came, cause
Yeah.
So he's my line brother.
He's the suit guy.
He's the
So,
suit guy.
yeah, you want me to just fill him out?
Go ahead.
So, these guys are wonderful gentlemen. As they said, we are fraternity brothers. They went to school in Florida. I went to school in Buffalo. I went to UB, the state school, which is SUNY Buffalo, if you, for everybody, it's SUNY. And so we pledged around the same time, but in different schools. Fast forward to now. That was many moons ago. I was gonna say how long. But after college, I'm from Manhattan, Harlem, actually, to be precise. And my family, we work in like other types of commercial property, real estate, and stuff like that. So when these guys kind of got going and everything, you know, being friends previously, I was, you know, very excited to, you know, do my part and help them out. And then I ended up kind of jumping on with them. But the story and the dream and the background is really what these guys have going on. I'm just happy to be here.
So what is your part of the business? I'm so confused. There's three parts.
He is now a minority partner in our expansion effort. So
The second.
yes, correct.
So we need to explain to you guys, it's kind of like two places with the same address. One of them is a cafe.
Well, the whole thing is the cafe.
Okay, what's the other part?
It's just for us. It's just an expansion of the cafe. It's still the same address. Unfortunately for us, there's a wall in the middle that we can't take down because there's an entrance.
To
It's
an
a very
apartment
unique building.
that's
Yeah.
upstairs, 'cause
Yeah.
Dale used to be there
Exactly.
previous, right?
But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
but it's all the same concept. What we're seeking to do is add beer, wine, and cider to our current cafe. We're not opening a second bar location. This is still Antilles Cafe, but also hopefully serving beer, wine, and cider.
And that's because the address was never 1170A and 1170B.
Correct. It's all just
Which was a
1170.
11225 error, but also a developer error when they read
Yeah,
the building.
it's two different locations practically, but
No,
they-
it's two.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
a store, and then there's an entrance to a building, and there's a second store. And they both have the same addresses, both stores, on both sides. So it's a little bit more than a wall, it's like a walkway
It's the
into a
hallway
building.
It's the
into
hallway,
the
correct.
building.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Well, I'll tell you, so are you finished with the presentation? Anything else you want us to know as well, or?
Any other relevant things? I mean, we provided letters of recommendation from the landlord, from NAMA. We provided a letter of recommendation from another business. We've also completed Serve Safe alcohol training, which I didn't get many copies, but we brought this so for responsible serving of alcohol. We provided also a noise mitigation plan. You know, I think the community has embraced us, and I'm hoping that this gives us a chance to kind of expand and keep growing.
If you could discuss a little bit, what's the noise mitigation plan? What have you done to get that?
So I have bullet points in the sheet. I was saying the first, which is why I jumped in when you were saying about the two spots. The first step in mitigating unwanted noise is the branding. This is a cafe that will serve beer and wine. This is not a nightclub, this is not a pub. I think setting that expectation is integral. I think people walking in and assuming that it's a bar creates a different expectation of service. This is a cafe and bistro. Food is our primary business. We have currently installed acoustic paneling. These acoustic panels are designed to keep unwanted frequencies from traveling through the walls and from getting outside. We're installing a sound system that is a hi-fi system designed to have clear quality, not for loudness.
I'm sorry, what did you say for the loudness?
We are installing a sound system that's like designed for quality of sound, not for loudness. Separating us again from what a traditional bar or nightclub space would be. This is not designed to pump bass. Again, back to the branding of like, I want to make sure that you know and that the public knows this is not a nightclub. We're weather stripping and sealing anywhere where there may be sound leaks to prevent that. And again, most importantly, creating an atmosphere of open communication where our neighbors feel free to approach us in the unfortunate situation that maybe there is a noise situation. We're here to listen and we're here to be part of the community. I think that kind of touches on what we felt was important in terms of mitigating any kind of unwanted noise.
All right, okay, thank you very much for that. So we're gonna have the committee members asking questions to the applicant. We're gonna start this side.
Okay. Okay, so, let me ask you, the Antilles Cafe,
Yes.
okay? So it's, do you find that it's full, how long are you open for, like 4 months?
For
4 months.
Right, so do you find that it's full and that's why you had to open the second spot, location next door?
Yes, so the demand seems to be there. We get packed in the morning, we get packed for lunch, and then in the weekends, we've been pretty full. There seems to be the demand for, to be able to serve more customers. And then we're also anticipating an increase in demand when we're able to offer beer, wine, and cider.
Okay, so which one of you is the music enthusiast?
Right.
As you can tell, we know a little bit about you. Okay, so I know you put up like some kind of wall type of stuff in the
Yes.
back, right?
That's the acoustic panel.
Acoustic paneling, you're correct, but only in the back part, right,
Yes.
the back section. And you're gonna be bringing in like some musicians or things like that, like what's your vision?
Okay, so we're gonna be adding, especially for springtime, we're gonna be adding more paneling to the ceiling in particular, and to the wall that's adjacent to the apartment entrance. That will help to absorb any kind of sound bleed. But going back to what I was saying earlier, we may bring entertainment, but with keeping in mind that it's, again, a cafe and bistro. The plan is not to bring very loud music. The plan is not to bring, DJs that come in and pack 100 people into a space that's meant for 30 or 20.
Is that new place gonna be also called Antilles, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
It
It's-
is.
The plan is again for it to, the whole space is Antilles Cafe. This is, for us, we're treating this as a second dining room that's providing us with enough space to offer new products.
Okay, so, and are these gonna be the hours on both places?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you're gonna get a license in one space, and since it's the same address, you can really, in essence, use the license for the second space, but what hours are gonna be in the second space?
We plan to keep everything open at the same time.
The same hours?
Yes, ma'am. In the mornings when we open for coffee service, we're also gonna open the other dining room for juice service in the morning.
Right, which is fine, the
Yes.
same. So, and 10 PM is gonna be your closing time for Friday and Saturday?
That's the plan as of now, yes.
And we're talking wine, beer and cider, but we're not talking any kind of liquor?
Correct. So again, with our chef background, we're excited for the wine pairings in particular. We want to start introducing more evening dinner focused service, and we want to be able to pair that with wines.
Okay, so one more question, just, so the front of the store opens up, right?
Yes,
And then we have that outside seating, right?
correct.
And then you have the music. So I think 10 PM is kind of fair, Friday and Saturday, even with the music. I'm saying if it's these hours.
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of fair, cause it is an apartment building.
Yeah.
That people live upstairs.
And we want to be very considerate to everybody.
Right, if it's gonna be these hours, I think that's fair.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really fair. But, if it's gonna be later hours, you might end up getting complaints, and then complaints come back to us. And then we can't renew a license.
Understood.
So, this sounds safe.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
that's what we were hoping for when we filled it out. We want to be considerate to everybody. We want to be considerate to our business and our business's needs, but we understand that
Yeah,
there
we
is
want the business to thrive.
Yeah,
We do, so we get, and it's a very small space, so I get it that you have to open up that whole front and have the eating outside and then the music coming out.
yes,
But then we have to remember people live there.
Yes.
So like we kinda have to balance this. I think the 10 PM closing the weekends is being fair.
I think.
Mr. Banks?
I only have one question, Nancy. On your application, you don't have listed live musicians. But you said there's a possibility that you will have live musicians?
There's a possibility, we've been approached, recently by a gentleman who plays the saxophone. We were approached recently by a gentleman who plays the violin. Those were things that we were considering to have during dinner service. Those people approached us, after we submitted this. We didn't go into this plan anticipating live music.
So do you think you need to check that off, the prospect of live music?
If you recommend for us to check that off, then yes. Keeping in mind that live music for us is not bands. Live music is woodwind instruments and string instruments. That's the
Yeah, because
idea.
they have the whole acoustic thing in the back, I would assume they're gonna wanna use live. That's not for a jukebox.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Ms. Moshkin?
No.
Ms. Butler? Ms. Holman?
It was Bodega Lounge before,
Yeah.
right? Bodega Lounge had a liquor license, you weren't able to inherit it, or what's the
No,
scenario?
you can't, you
Okay,
can't.
okay. And then before that, it was,
The Jetson Brew.
Bellevue.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. I
Was
just wanted-
Bodega Lounge both locations?
I don't believe so,
I
I
don't
think
think
it was,
so.
and it was very narrow, it was like from here to here.
Yes,
So it was
that's,
only one
that's the
location.
second location.
Yeah, that's the smaller one,
Yeah,
farther away from the corner, closer to coming up here. Yeah, that was it, I just wanted the historical reference.
Okay, Ms. Wolseley? Okay. All right, hearing no questions. Are we comfortable with introducing a resolution to recommend to the full board?
I think
With
just
the
have them check
stipulation
off the
adding the
live
live
music.
yeah,
music.
yeah, I think they should do the stipulation, they should definitely add live music.
Oh, actually, I do have a question about the live music, since you said it's a soloist and instrumental. Will they be, and you may not know this, and this is why you need to check, if it will be, the instrument will be set to an amp, or will the instrument be played without an amplifier? And that's why I think you need to check. on
Check,
music.
okay.
Yes, because if you play saxophone with an amp in it, it will then, the sound will travel. String instruments, very rarely can you place an amp if it's in a traditional string instrument, but if it's a more modern one, it can place an amp and that can, the sound can travel. So I think that I recommend that you do that.
Also, you know what, I would ask if you could just tell us what kind of, what exactly is, what that level of, sound barrier that you put up there?
So we have wood acoustic panels on the wall and on the ceiling. Those are designed typically to reduce bottom end, which is like your sub frequencies. Those are the ones that kind of bleed through walls where you don't understand or hear and you just kind of feel the vibration. They're also designed to mitigate the higher end frequencies, which are kind of those hissing sounds.
Yeah, what do they call those specific?
Tweeters.
The panels, they're called acoustic wood panels.
They use it in music.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, is that,
that's what they
is
do.
it soundproof, that the music?
Proof, no, but it probably reduces.
It
Reduces.
reduces decibels.
Okay, okay, great.
All right, so I just want to make sure I'm clear on it. Okay, so what's the stipulation with regards to
We
live
need to
music?
check off live music on
Okay.
his application.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
All
Can
right,
we
so
do that now, or is that after the meeting?
Yeah, just check the, click it
Okay.
off. But I think otherwise with that, I think we're good with it. Okay, so does anybody want to introduce the resolution to recommend with that? Okay, so I have moved by Harvey Cohen, I have a second by her from Ms. Hartley. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none. This is adopted by common consent. Any objection?
No.
Hearing no objection, this is adopted, this is going to go before the full board. All right, so the district office will let you know what your next steps are. Full board, I believe, is scheduled for the 25th. It'll be the last Tuesday of the month, I believe it's the 25th. All right, so at that time, you'll come before the board, give a very brief introduction to the district. Let us know who you are and just say hi. All right, so please make sure you do that one piece in terms of checking off the live music portion of that. And we will see you that Tuesday otherwise. If there's any questions?
You have to attend that meeting.
Yes,
Us-
we do require.
Yeah,
Okay,
us
well,
approving it here is like the beginning, that's the final stat, so you have to come to some, maybe not all three of you, but someone has to.
Somebody has to be there. Okay.
Yes. Okay, all right, thank you very much. You are more than welcome to stay. But if you wanna go, that's okay. But we usually like people who stay. All right, gentlemen.
Good luck,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
So when do you guys from? When do you guys from?
Oh, spring 2004.
Religious.
Yep, yep.
Everybody.
Spring 2004 and spring 2004.
Spring 2006.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As an
all
outlaw,
need
I'm
that.
like, okay, what's the date? I won't hold it against you. What?
I got it.
Oh, way before spring 2000. Spring 97.
Good luck, guys.
All right.
It's
Joan,
nice for
take
good
care.
friends to get together.
I am for you.
Oh, and Washington came.
And then what is here as well. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just get the last applicant and then, thank you very much. Okay. All right, so. All right, so the next applicant we have, and I apologize, it's not on the list, we're gonna hear from C-List this evening. And if you could please, I don't have the information in front of me, if you just tell us about what application.
Sure. It's application for SNA license.
Okay, and what are you applying for? Liquor, wine, beer cider, is it a renewal?
No, full license.
No, it's a full
It's a
license.
full license? Okay.
It's a
First
new-
time or?
First time.
It is not open. Have they even started construction there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, do we have a picture of it here? 'Cause I
Don't you need a copy?
So I have,
And you guys.
Any sample?
I didn't know I could, but if I knew I could.
Look, it's 5 o'clock.
All right, if you could come over here.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Wait, is this on the corner?
Yeah.
It's on the corner.
Yes, it is.
All right, so just for the record, so C-List, this is for a liquor, wine, beer, and cider license. If you could just give us the address and the cross streets as well, and tell us a little bit about your restaurant.
All right, so the C-List at 835 Franklin Avenue, right on the corner of Franklin and Union Street, is a cocktail bar. It's it used to be Union Street Pub.
As I was thinking, I remember there was a bar.
Yeah, with a really different feel. But what we're bringing is a more relaxed, more sophisticated atmosphere. Something where people could come and really enjoy a really nicely made cocktail, a beautiful, simple but entertaining environment, and just feel like they were being taken care of, as opposed to raising their hands and yelling across the bar that I want to be here. We have a lot more to offer, and customer service is one of the good things that we offer. One of the good things we're going to offer. My name is Craig Joseph. I've been in this business of food and beverage for about 20 years. I've worked for individually owned restaurants as well as large corporations. I worked for Four Seasons Hotel and Resorts for about 10 years in New York City. I've run three businesses for the Tao Group. I left that. I went and I was the GM recently of Tatiana at Lincoln Center. So yeah, I've been around the block. I've done a few things.
I'm sorry, but if we could just make sure, we want to make sure we're respectful.
Sorry.
I've done a few things. I've been around. I knew my way around food and beverage, and I decided early last year that I had had enough of working for other people, and I started to do some consulting work, and then from that I got an opportunity to see a few bars that needed to change ownership, and Union Street Pub was one of them, and I began a conversation with them late last year, and here we are.
So did you buy it from them?
Yeah.
That's the corner?
The corner.
Yeah, the corner, it's not, that's what Shane said, it's the corner where we were yesterday.
So he's the guy who was here in front of us discussing all of his sound issues.
Yeah, and then he took over, but he's saying it's very different. what
Yeah,
he wants.
I actually got paneling for the ceiling because I know he talked about Jacob, so he mentioned that to me before as well, and that's one of the things that I'm going to address right away. So.
Yeah, people live, they live lives.
Yeah.
We understand everybody needs to open businesses, but there's also people that live lives, and we just we need to think about them also.
Yeah, for sure. I've also communicated with the neighbors upstairs. Actually, there's a neighbor directly above the bar who's come down and introduced herself and who's spoken to me at length about the need to be, considerate of everybody within, or her rather, who is directly upstairs.
If you could tell us a little bit about, so what is your noise mitigation plan that you're working on?
Right.
So I do have the paneling for the ceiling. I have that, but that's, I think,
What kind of paneling is it?
it's 2-inch foam paneling. It's very dense acoustic boards that you affix to the ceiling. You could actually affix it to anything. You just affix it to the ceiling, to the walls. But what I need to soundproof is the ceiling. There's no one on my sides that need to be
Yeah, there's a clothes store on one side, yeah, I think it's like out of business.
There's an electronics repair store
Okay,
to the side, and then there are neighbors upstairs.
right. There's a building upstairs, right? So did you like hire someone to come in and help you with this soundproofing or whatever?
I just bought the paneling, but I have not installed it. But I do have the paneling on site for installation.
All right, so let's continue around. So Mr. Banks, do you have any questions?
I'm thinking you spoke with the neighbors. You're
Yeah.
going to accommodate them regarding noise reduction.
Certainly.
And your conversations with the previous owner, did they tell you what kind of difficulty they were having?
Yeah, so certainly. So as far as I understand it, the business they were operating was not conducive to, good neighborly relations. I mean, they operated a pub, the music was loud, they didn't have the proper soundproofing.
Yeah,
And I think it kind of rubbed the neighbors the wrong way in that, from what the neighbor upstairs told me, she had spoken to them many times and she had to go downstairs several times and ask them to stop and this and that. So, I mean, I don't want that, and I've spoken to her directly and I've mentioned to her that, that's not gonna be me. I will be, considering, and I got the paneling, and we're gonna have it installed very soon.
Any other questions, Mr. Banks?
Crowd control. Was there a situation, or did they mention overflow from customers in the bar? Or in that facility, the previous facility?
No,
That
I-
wasn't an issue, that wasn't an issue.
I don't believe so,
I think
but as
they
far
had
as I
tables
understood,
outside. Did they have tables
On the
outside?
side.
Yeah, they had tables
On the
outside,
Union Street
on the
side.
Union Street.
that's no longer. And I believe the city had asked them, if you're not gonna renew it, to take it away, and I think that was taken away.
Okay,
So,
good to know.
Ms. Basha?
Are you open already?
We're operating softly because
Right.
I wanted to manage the shift of the guest expectation, and also the establishment is different.
Right.
It's coming from a pub to a cocktail bar,
Right, right.
and so I wanted to manage that the transition was not to start, that people were gonna ease into what is new,
Right,
a new space which has a different feel to it,
okay.
a different feel
So
to
it is, then you are doing that, incorporating that already? You are
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah.
So,
We haven't done any signage or anything
Right,
like that.
right.
We haven't gone that far.
right,
But we are serving gas and we're serving cocktails. We do have all 16 drafts working,
right.
which people are delighted about. They came previously and there was 1 out of 16. Blah, blah, blah.
What are you
So
saying?
are you using the previous owner's liquor license until yours comes in? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, well, so we had a transition period between the time
Right,
I purchased,
right,
and so where I thought it would be best for me to come in and change the look, change things slowly before I completely just
Right.
change everything with a name and a this and a that and everything like that. So so he just recently, just this week, he said to me, well, I said to him, listen, you need to surrender your license,
right.
your license, because I've applied for mine and I needed to be approved like
Right.
yesterday.
Yes,
So
yes.
please, let's get that done. And
So meanwhile, all these drinks are being served.
Yeah.
And was there food? Was there a little bit of food?
yeah, there is. Now, there was no food before.
And now you're
Before they did some sort of pop-up thing, which I still accommodate.
What is that pop-up thing?
Pop-up, so somebody from the outside comes in with a table, and then they serve like prepared food already that just needs to be warmed, and they serve it to guests.
And are you serving any food besides?
Yeah. So we have some small plates. Nothing is cooked on site. Nothing is cooked. It's just heated.
It's just warmed up.
It's just warmed up. Yeah.
What are your weekend hours?
4 p.m. to 1 a.m. right now. It's January and February
Right,
are typically
yes,
very
right.
slow, but I think in the fall, in the spring and the summer, we'll open until 2.
Right, yeah, it gets busy.
Every night, Monday through Thursday also too?
Monday through Thursday, possibly until 1, and Fridays and Saturdays until 2. Sundays, 5 to 10.
5 to 10.
5 to 10.
That's interesting. That's not what you wrote here.
Sundays,
It's 4 to 2 across the board.
4 to 2 across the board.
no. It's 5 to 10 on Sundays.
5 p.m. to 10
5
p.m.?
p.m. to 10 p.m.
That's only 5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Monday to Thursday is not 4 to 1 a.m.?
Monday
I mean
to
4 to
Thursdays.
2 a.m.?
No. Monday to Thursdays 4 to 12.
4 to
Fridays and
12.
Saturdays 4 to 1.
But in the summer, what are you gonna do?
4 to 2.
Across the
And
board?
no, Monday to Thursday through the summer, 4 to 1, and 4 to 2 Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay, so this needs to be adjusted.
Yeah,
Has to be updated. What kind of live music are you having?
Vocals.
Inside there, how big was that? How big is that?
We never went in there.
It was very loud and
We
it was
wanted to
scary.
go in last night and we were like.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
We
we
wanted-
didn't.
Because we
Why?
remembered the
Because we
previous
thought
guy.
because we thought you were next door, that
Right,
we didn't
right,
realize
and
that
we
it was
thought
gonna
it
be
was
a
the
corner
previous
one.
one, and when we tried to go in the previous one, it was very rowdy when we,
Yeah.
that time
Yeah.
before, and a little bit like
Yeah.
scary.
So we've done some work in there, including fixing the bathroom door.
Yeah, okay.
And the toilet.
So
So
it's 950 square feet, it's not especially large, how many
it's not.
tables do you have?
We have no tables per se, but there is a bar counter and there's a bar rail. Together, we have about 31 actual seats. But I think with standing room, we could accommodate up to 60, 70 comfortably.
And what were you gonna do for the live music?
Mostly vocals. I have like a jazz singer, R&B singer, something.
So, on the application, you have live musician and DJ checks, but not jukebox, a regular, like Bluetooth.
Regular.
Bluetooth.
Like a-
Regular ambient, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have that.
Okay, and it's not check though.
Yeah, cause if other types, please describe, you put in recorded music.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Butler, do you have any? Ms. Wilson, do you have any? Okay.
I'm not sure if the music volume will be background quiet if you're bringing in live musicians,
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be loud and rowdy.
but it's entertainment level, so change that a little bit.
How often are you trying to bring in live musicians? And then like on what nights? Are we talking on a Tuesday night or Friday night?
Well, it can be any, including a Sunday night as well, because the reason why I want to do Sundays being a short night is just so it could be manipulated a little bit better. We don't have to open for regular business. It could just be a night where we just do some light entertainment,
Right.
something like that, or wine tastings, or things of that nature.
Or a jazz thing, or
Yeah,
comedy thing.
Exactly, yeah. Like the gentleman I had, we've been approached with various things. People walk by all the time and be like, oh, I'm a singer, I'm this, I'm a comedian, I'm here, I'm there. So people are looking for little places to do their acts, and you know, we're willing to support, you know, whatever fits our image.
Right. What about parties, like let's say Sunday night? Would that go longer than 10 p.m.? Like if someone wants a party, like you said, Sunday's gonna
birthday
be like a
party,
flexible
something like that.
type of thing.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do anything late on Sundays. I think if we do something later than 10 p.m., it's not gonna be a usual thing. If it does happen.
Do you really think that you'll close at 10 on a Sunday?
That's what I'm,
I have 2 Sundays.
Right, but that's more in regards to when it's kind of sort of
it's
slow,
busier,
right?
yeah.
So it's not like your fixed hours, it's more just flexibility in regards to
Yeah.
foot actual traffic and actual business, right?
Yeah.
right, well, what she's kinda trying to say is, when you put in hours, you can't say, well, these are the hours for fall, you kinda have to give us the hours.
The broad hours like
Yeah,
for
and then-
okay.
And then sometimes you could close earlier, I mean, that happens
Right,
when there's
yeah.
there's no customers.
Okay.
But in worst case scenarios,
That
makes
that's the
sense.
length of
Right.
possibility,
That
right?
makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
The first warm day in May may be a little bit later.
Certainly. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but you weren't
Memorial Day
anticipating,
weekend, you know,
but you weren't anticipating longer, later than 2.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Alright,
Two
so-
was my cutoff
That's
for
what we thought.
any day, for all days.
So just based on the feedback I'm hearing, if you could resubmit that questionnaire with those changes, just so that way we have that we're saying, so we know that, you know,
Yeah, that's
your
important.
Fridays and Saturdays will be 2 o'clock, but otherwise we have an idea of what your opening hours are on that
Yeah.
Sunday at 10 p.m. roughly.
Right.
That as well.
So, so maybe would it be just the better thing to keep it at 4 to 2 all week, just to be on the safer side, so I don't violate
I
any.
don't know if the other committee is gonna be so happy with that, I'll be honest.
Yeah, during the week, those weekday hours.
During the week,
Yeah.
people.
The Friday, the weekends, you know, it's understandable, that's your busier
Right.
season, like, so.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we understand, that's probably where the bulk of business comes in,
Right.
so yeah, absolutely, yeah,
We're
that's
talking about
understandable.
weekends, right,
Yeah.
that's why she brought up Sunday, 'cause Sunday's still like a weekend, people still like to party a little bit.
Yeah.
But Monday through Thursday, there's people that live upstairs and you can see that they've already been annoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it comes back to us, if we don't move forward, that's not good. So,
I totally understand that. Yeah. And I will be respectful of them. I've given my word to them directly already, and you know, I know you don't know me, but I'm a man of my word.
If you could resubmit the board's questionnaire with those addressed times.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, is there any other unreadiness? Are we able to put a motion on the floor to recommend?
can we do a motion to recommend when so many things have to be changed?
Well, with so many, because I know the hours, we're gonna do that. Is that a noise mitigation plan?
And music entertainment level is definitely entertainment level, it's not background music.
Okay,
I'm looking up like what is considered entertainment level. I think you and I may have a different definition of it
Right,
as working in the music industry.
cause it says background quiet, and that's what he checked. But he says that he wants to have live musicians and DJs. So it's not background quiet anymore, which is fine. I'm not saying, it's just, we have to just say what it is.
well, so if you could just clarify that. So now I heard musicians, so I heard, like you said, maybe a jazz band, maybe I'm mishearing things. So what entertainment do you expect to have?
Live entertainment, vocalists, maybe an instrument player. I don't want to rule out entirely, you know, a DJ. But like I said, I do want to be respectful. I will be respectful of the people upstairs, of my neighbors. It's not going to be something where it's like people are bouncing off the walls, you know, things are going crazy, glasses falling off. It's not going to be that at all. So yeah, I prefer for you to know that I have the flexibility to do something instead of doing something that isn't required of me, so I rather say that as opposed to saying I'm never gonna have a DJ and then I do have a DJ.
Alright, so I would probably say then, yeah, it's important that you click that on the application as well, to select that. I know that you already said that you already started a noise mitigation plan in terms of putting the deadening stuff on the ceiling. I think you sense the feeling here, it's like, this is a spot we're watching. And the neighbors definitely have history with this, so.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be something that I think that, we're looking for you, to say that, okay, you're being proactive with this. And I guess that's the beginning of a conversation, but understanding that because of the history and because of the fact that the neighbors are very, very tuned and they're watching, we're gonna be paying close attention in terms of if there's noise complaints or things of that nature as well.
And so just for clarity, restaurant music that's piped through is 65 to 75 decibels, background music 80 to 95, but then when we're speaking about the possibility of live music, it's 80 to 105 decibels. Normal aspects of sound is at or around 70. So there is a possibility just naturally, even if it's just sort of normal in human nature, that live music, even if it's an instrumentalist or vocalist, will usually be higher in decibels
Yeah.
than ambient music coming out of a sound system. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Yeah,
I don't like to say, I mean, we're not against the entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not against you having live music.
right.
We have to be concerned with the tenants and that you abide by your word in being
For sure.
thoughtful and responsible
Absolutely.
in how
so.
you manage.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
planning
And
to
I-
finish all of like the noise cancellation, soundproofing before having the live music?
Yeah.
Work stream.
And yeah, and as well, I will be there all the time. I will be working there all the time. So it's something that I can personally manage. It's not like I have somebody else,
So
who's
are
gonna-
they already putting up the acoustic boards? That's I think what she's.
They're not
Yeah.
up right now.
What's the
It's-
timeframe?
And it's more so
I
like,
could-
will you have live music in the interim before you do
Right.
that?
And what? She asked.
Yeah, what's the timeframe?
I could have them up next week. I just haven't booked somebody to put them, but I did receive them a week ago, a little over a week ago.
So the supplies are on hand.
Yeah.
The labor needs to be.
Certainly, yeah.
I think that just hear, take whatever we said here, kind of, because we're speaking also for the general board, and we know these are concerns that are gonna come up when you're gonna come to them. The Monday to Thursday time is gonna come up with them, they're gonna wanna know, kids going to sleep, this and that, what time are you closing during the week? The weekends, we're all more flexible.
More flexible.
Look, we want you to have business, you know what I mean, and we know that that's the time when people go out. But like all these things, to keep into, you know what I mean, when you're gonna be adjusting this, think about it, when you put down. We want you to be honest, obviously, which you stated that, and we want you to be honest, we want you to tell us what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But also to think of like practically, what's gonna be the weekend hours, other weekday hours, what's gonna be the weekend hours, and then these boards are gonna go up right away and things like
Yeah.
that.
I could also communicate, I don't know if I can, but if I could communicate with you once they're out,
I mean, absolutely.
I could send you a picture
Yeah.
with something.
No, that's definitely, particularly if you get it up before the board meeting, I think it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yes,
When is the
yeah.
board meeting?
The
25th.
25th, I think.
25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna make.
So I mean, if you have that and, you said that, it's something that will be a question that's answered, and no, that's done, and it shows good faith as
Okay.
well. Alright, so I
Certainly.
probably recommend, so if you do this, so to that questionnaire that you filled out, if you can make those questionnaires, we'll stipulate to whatever, what you're putting there. So your hours that you put there, we'll stipulate to that.
Yeah.
The noise mitigation plan, we'll stipulate to that.
Certainly.
And that will sort of serve
Changing
as
the
your.
music volume to entertainment level.
Right. So that'll be the agreement between you and the board that will go before the, that'll go before the SLA.
Yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
so with that being said, so with the notice stipulation.
Yeah, now I do.
Okay,
Now you do?
Now I do.
alright, so I will entertain a motion to adopt, to recommend to the board the approval of this with the noted stipulations.
Yes, heavy on the notice.
Yes,
Heavy,
the notice stipulations
yeah,
and that
very
may.
strong that we
Right.
only accept
Sorry?
adopting this with the notice stipulation.
Yeah, with notice stipulations which will be submitted prior to the meeting.
Right.
Okay? Mr. Joseph, so you got that?
Yeah,
Just
so
make the changes, submit that with the changes. So the hours we wanna see on there.
the hours,
The music, we wanna make sure is there as well.
Yeah.
Your noise mitigation plan, and you confirm the stuff is up.
Yeah,
So good with that, correct?
yeah, and like if you could find out what the acoustic panels, like the number or something, they have something like, so you could also present that to the lady.
Like metrics in regards to decrease in decibels.
Yeah.
From the initial sound to now what it does
Right.
once it's installed,
That,
so.
that really shows that you're becoming informed and you're telling, you're really caring about this.
sounds good.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, so I said, do I have a motion to adopt that, as we said?
Yes,
All right, Mr. Banks, moved. Do I have a second?
yes.
I have Ms. Hartley. All right, moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion on this? All right, hearing none. Is there any objection to adopting this by common consent?
With the stipulations.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, okay, Mr. Wilson, thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
approved.
Thank you.
So,
Good luck.
just to be clear, so I think you heard it for the other one. So the board meeting is scheduled for the
That's
twenty-fifth.
okay, yeah.
We expect applicants to be there, otherwise it will not be approved by the board at that time.
Right.
All right, so you will hear from the district office, they'll confirm everything. Please make sure you review the application and have that on file with the board, that'll go out to with the package.
Okay.
So if you can
So
do
do I
that.
send this to you, or do I send it to
Send it to you.
my representative?
I'm sorry?
Do I send it to my representative?
Who's your representative?
The office that sent this to you, that organized the meeting?
You have like a lawyer or something, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Well, it's not a lawyer, they're New York business licensing
A consultant?
consultants, yeah.
I mean, if you wanna run it by them, that's definitely your prerogative, but we wanna make sure that it's on file here in the
But I
office.
send it
Just drop
directly
it by
to you.
here.
Yes, you can send it directly to
Okay,
us.
I could do that then.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think do that, just go straight here
Just
instead of
goes.
that broken telephone, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Joseph.
Appreciate you guys, thank you so much.
All right. All right, we're gonna try and move a little bit on the next couple of items. So, we're gonna go back on, we have a representative from NYPD. Officer?
Ready.
Officer Ratty?
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Ready.
Welcome back. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. What's the good news with NYPD?
I know last time we were down a lot. Crime is starting to hike up a bit. So from last year to this year, we're still down to murders,
Oh,
thankfully. So we had 2 last year, 1 this year. Rapes, unfortunately, we're up in that. We had 1 last year versus 4 this year.
oh, wow.
Robberies, we're up in that too, unfortunately, with 8 last year, 10 this year. Felony assaults, we are down, 29 last year, 26 this year. Burglaries are the same, 7 last year, 7 this year. Grand larcenies, we're down as well, 37 last year, 22 this year. And larcenies of vehicles, we're up in that, unfortunately, 9 last year versus 12 this year. Petty larcenies, which includes like package theft, we are up in that as well.
Yeah, of course.
108 last year, 118 this year. Our hate crimes are up as well, with 1 last year, 2 this year. And our shooter incidents, though, are down, which we had 3 last year and 1 this year.
So interesting, I don't know how you have only 2 this year hate crimes. I personally know at least 3 or 4 hate crimes that happen in January.
It might have just been a bias incident and not classified as a hate crime. Because we might take it, but it goes to hate crimes, like the actual unit. If they don't determine it's that, they might make it a bias incident.
Or what's the difference between bias and hate crime?
It's,
It's sort of like premeditated and manslaughter, right?
not necessarily,
Kind
not
of.
necessarily,
Okay.
not. So a hate crime is usually based, like, let me think of an example to better explain it. Let's say, you go, I guess, like, to maybe a synagogue, and, like, something, like, specifically religious with that, versus a bias incident might be, let's say, I think of a better example of that. Hate crimes is basically.
Let's say
just-
people walking
right.
down the street wearing black hats or this and that.
Right.
Is that a hate crime or bias?
And what happens with that?
And some guy comes and starts trying to stab them.
And they're wearing black hats?
What?
You said
Yeah,
they
that
wear black
happened
hats?
on Friday.
That's what I'm saying, it happened 2 days ago.
So you're saying they're wearing black hats and someone is walking down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you try to
We
stab
try to
her.
stop him, yeah. We
Like,
were with kids, we try to stop him.
are you referring to like Jewish guys with black hats or
Yeah.
just like?
Yeah.
So
Jewish
that would be,
beards and black
right,
hats.
that would be more so a bias, isn't it? The rest of the
A
hate
bias?
crimes. Yeah,
Why?
because, I mean, they're not doing that because they're Jewish. It just so happened that they are and that you just trying to stop them.
Well,
And so if they said something like,
1 second,
Right.
1 second.
I mean, that's
That's,
if there's more
this is,
to it,
this is,
then
this,
it's,
this is
right.
really ridiculous, okay?
Well, you have to
Well,
take that up with the.
yeah, I mean, it's
Maybe-
not,
Yeah, here's the thing.
What she says.
She may not be able to articulate it that well, it doesn't mean that she is
Right.
the owner and agency of the definition of it.
It comes
Yeah.
down to the legal, what
Right.
it
Right.
comes.
What the actual hate crime unit refers to it as, and as stated before, crimes of opportunity may sometimes come across as hate because of a concentrated area
right,
and a specific type of person where it took place. But if it's not a full-on target of the location and space, i.e. a synagogue or a black church, then the aspects of how it's defined that's the difference between specifically biased and also the language.
right.
Used
So if
as
you're not
well.
saying like, oh, I'm gonna stop you because you're Jewish, that's more of a hate crime versus a bias incident.
Or a slur used
Yeah.
and or the specific demographic used.
And I think it's important to understand as well, those, the classifications may or may not change. So it may start as a hate crime, go down to bias, or it may start as bias, go to hate.
Right.
So that's probably happening in different places. So the arrests are happening, I mean, I guess the point is the arrests are happening. What they end up being classified is something that may happen further down the line, but we just know that bias and hate crimes are happening.
How many, cops do you have physically on the street, walking around?
Walking
On a
around,
day- yeah, on a
we don't have
daily
any
basis.
cops walking around.
Oh.
We just got about 15 new cops and they system on transit, so transit has more cops than,
You mean in the subway station?
Yeah.
Okay.
so yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the cops on foot and probably won't for the next couple months.
Is that because of how
Of everything else happening
the
with transit.
increase that's
yeah.
happening in transit, so they've just shifted units to those spaces?
They've taken all the new classes and like administrative people and different transit.
All right, let's just go around very quickly. So Ms. Wilson, do you have any questions? Ms. Hartley? Ms. Butler? Motion, Ms. Banks?
No questions.
Ms. Cohen?
No, I think I asked all the questions.
I'm sorry, you didn't get it.
It's okay, it's what it is.
Is it possible, can you forward us a copy of the stats for
Yeah,
the?
mhm.
Okay, so we can keep that for the record as well. Just-
It's also, it's on the website, it's usually updated probably every,
okay.
Like to be sure, you said there's less cops and more crime.
pretty much.
Well, let me ask this, so,
There's less
given
cops
some of
on
the.
On the street,
On the
right.
street.
There's less cops, there's less beat cops
Yeah,
Right.
doing
Yeah.
walk.
yeah. But
That's
these,
also because there is less cops in general, but it's definitely.
Because it was a high turnover in retirement
right,
and buyouts and
And,
packages during
right.
COVID.
right.
All right, so is there anything that we should particularly, I mean, I'm glad to hear that there are a number of categories that are down. Rapes are up, so I guess,
Rapes
we
are
wanna
up.
make sure that we're
Right,
sharing with the community, make sure you're keeping your eyes open,
Right.
making sure that things are staying
right.
locked.
But these, from what I've seen, is usually like,
No,
yeah,
no.
it's not like random
Okay.
attacks.
All right. And what about, I think you said something about vehicle larcenies were up as well?
Yeah, so a lot of, I know Queens has been a thing, it seems like it's coming to Brooklyn, a lot of like Cadillac converters are getting stolen. It wasn't a thing in
Oh, that's
Brooklyn
the new
before.
car.
Cadillac what?
It's
Cadillac
Cadillac
converters.
Oh,
The new
those
car.
expensive parts and ones.
yeah.
There's been a lot of car break-ins as well. I don't know where that's coming from, but it's been like a thing for the past maybe month. And it's been between like juveniles and adults, so it's not just adults. So
Oh, wow.
it's been like, we having a lot of problems with high school kids, like as far as crime. A lot of our shootings involve them. A lot of, like I said, car incidents involve them. So
As well, I got you, so this is one of those things that's always been a concern for me. How are we looking with like gang-related activities or?
So we actually do have outside units that deal with youth as by the schools. So they're, we have more of them than cops, like patrolling the areas. So there, a lot of focus is on schools. As far as gang activity, the problem is a lot of them are, but we don't have it on file. There's whole different units for that, but if, it's no real way to place them in a gang unless they're admitted to it. Just because you suspect it, can't really place them.
Kinda
It's
like
yeah.
All right, so the numbers are maybe in here somewhere, some of the
So
stats,
I
maybe
mean, I
don't
wouldn't
look.
say the gang activity is low at all. It's stuff in there. It's just not on their records properly. It's more so adults still see it more so than juveniles.
No, I'm saying, so like if you have a larceny or burglary, it could be gang related. It could be gang, but it's,
It's usually from what I've seen, those not really, but it can be. But we don't have that breakdown. We're not a technology not that we have that much.
So with gang activity, it's more of the assaults and
Right.
possibly murders and
And
shootings.
robberies as well, but not really like
But burglaries
like
and
petty
larcenies
larcenies and
and
stuff
more,
like that.
yeah,
not
more
really.
solo.
Right.
and
Our
then
petty
more-
larcenies most of that package thefts, like CVS stores, like commercial.
okay. All right, then, I think that's all we have. So yeah, so I mean, whatever Dave, share that. Otherwise, thank you so much for
I'll,
coming out to see.
I'll have to make a copy of it.
Even better. And we'll just make sure we keep it with all the records.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Stay safe. Okay. All right, so let's go, I do see it's,
Yeah.
8:35?
8:23.
8:25.
23.
8:23. All right, so we go for about 10 or 15 minutes, about 10 or 15 minutes with regards to the SLA criteria. And we'll see where we go from there. Okay? So, all right, so this is the time, it's about 15 minutes. All right, so, one, I want to thank everyone. I think the conversation's been going really well. So part of what we were trying to do is get information in terms of what the environment is, what we're working with. So I want to thank the district office team because they did a lot of research in terms of trying to get some stuff for us. So we sent some materials out to the so we found there were resources about noise control. So there are definitely policies the city has that are controlled by the Department of Environmental Protection. So there's some information they shared about what are considered noise, what's excessive noise, and guidance for that as well. So I think one of the things that was very important is that there's the noise code. We talk about the different sound measurements. There's a specific section. So does everybody have a copy of the,
I read it, I just, yeah.
your city's noise code?
I think I have the one page
So what was interesting was in DEP, they had that specific section about nightlife and nightclubs. So it looks like they don't necessarily enforce that. That looks like it's something that, yeah, they consider them quality of life complaints that would normally go through either NYPD or 311. But they did give some guidance with respect to that in terms of, I think excessive noise may not exceed 42 decibels is that measured from inside nearby residences. So I guess if you're on top of somebody's, restaurant, if it measures over 42 decibels, then that's excessive noise.
So
And how would you measure?
And that's so crazy
Yeah, how
because 60 is spoken and mentioned as sort of a natural speaking sound.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what it is? 60 is natural if we're in the room together. By the time it gets up there,
Right,
it's
and
over
noise
42.
does travel.
So by the time it travels through the ceiling and the floor and or whatever wiring and everything like that, if it's over 42 decibels, that means that it's that loud. So it's probably something much further over the $60 that's happening. But we wanted to send that information so that way we
Yeah,
had
how
that.
do you measure it? How do you
How do you
walk by a
enforce that?
bar and measure
You
it?
would, and that's the thing. So like if somebody has a specific complaint, and I guess there's machinery, you can actually measure what it sounds like at your floor. So, and
Yeah,
I
it says
think,
over here, the bass sounds especially may not exceed 6 decibels
right,
above the ambient sound. Because then it starts the sound resonates, and you can feel it.
right. I think what was also a good piece of information to have is also we saw the noise control for nightclubs. I think this is something good, and we might want to post this as well, so that way it serves as a resource. So if you're opening a business, one of the first things that looks like we're starting to talk about is what is your noise mitigation plan?
Yeah, definitely.
And this might be something that's good as a resource. We can implement this as a package automatically. It's like, listen, look at this, see what's gonna work for your establishment. it's probably easier for you to do that in advance, so that way it's not something that we're negotiating later on.
Right.
You can come in and perhaps even on our checklist, we can say, listen, there's a section for noise mitigation. What are you doing? You can go here for these resources and you can check, do you or not
I
have it or not?
think even more so, instead of what are you doing, we should know which acoustic panels it is and we should be suggesting for
Well,
them, because
DEP
they're coming in
recommends.
here.
It's in here, they recommend.
Well, then we should write it down, because they're coming in here and saying, oh, I'm putting up acoustic panels, how big is it? Okay, it's 4 inches.
No,
Okay.
the DEP
I put in 4
they
inches
have a
of this
list of
panels in
approved
my,
items
nothing
and
happened.
approved contractors to
Right,
come.
and that's the thing, cause I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable saying, it's like, yeah, I'm a sound engineer now, it's like based on what I read online. This is what you should be putting in your establishment, you're good.
No, but if the DEP is telling us, then we can tell them that this is what they should be putting in.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying, so you give them that, DEP says this is what you should look at. And even to the point where it's like, if this is something that's a resource there, we can just ask them, do you have noise mitigation? If you don't, or if you haven't thought about it,
Here it goes.
here it is.
And if they say yes, but it's none of these, what the DEP has suggested,
I'm not sure they're even locked into what DEP suggested. I mean, it's great if they can tell us, but if whatever they do does the job,
They put mattresses against the wall.
if they put mattresses and it does the wall, and you know,
That's one way that I've soundproofed things.
they could. Now the
I-
question is, does it
I-
work?
Suki came to me, to stop me, spoke to me a while back, and she told me that there's a requirement for them to use a specific type of soundproofing.
I know it can't be flammable because that
Right.
is a component. That was my most recent thing, but I think that took place around 07 or 08 when the laws did change.
Right.
Can we get someone from,
It says.
to come in and talk to us
That
about
would be
it?
great.
DEP?
Yeah.
So we know for, with clarity,
And
what
No,
they
that's
should
fair.
or shouldn't
You
do.
can absolutely do that.
We're speculating, and then
I think also what's great to see is from the sounds of the city, I'm losing my vocabulary, I'm super tired, is what is the noted decibel and what is then noted as the type of sound that you then hear. So what a whisper is measured at in comparison to a jet takeoff. So it allows you to, if you don't have the measurement tool, to at least be able to use hindsight to be able to measure it to some level.
Okay.
Or compare.
No, but we can definitely get somebody from DEP to come and discuss that with us.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do
I
they
think
mean by
so.
this and how is it measured
I think that's a good idea.
and what they do. The other piece that they got, but I wanna thank them for that, they actually got a copy of the retail licensees handbook. So these are what the licensees are seeing as they do it. And I think it was important, I think there were a couple of pieces in here that are important for us to make sure that we're level set. So it's like in terms of what the different types are. So I think it's, what we're basically dealing with more often than not is on-prem liquor licenses, and I think they talked about different categories of that as well. The method of operation, I think it's also, that was one of those things that was important as well, because what ends up happening is if they change method of operation, so if they were a bar, if all of a sudden they said they're breaking down walls, or they're going to someplace, you know, they're expanding, or they're making some big significant changes, that's a liquor license change, which means they would have to come to us. If there's changes in ownership, they've gotta come to us. So, that was very good, I think, for us to have that, so I think we have that as a resource as well, and we kind of understand what they have to do. There was another document.
there was a piece on the hours, I think, on liquor to be sold.
Yes, now this was one, this came directly from, if you see one, there's a sheet that says Liquor Authority, Local Governments Overview. This is something that actually came directly from their website, and we put the text here, and the link is there on the, if you guys that. And I wanted to make sure that we were clear with
Could I
this.
make a suggestion?
Sure.
When we're gonna be asking them what kind of soundproofing they do, can we put this as suggested, types of soundproof insulation? Like that, just like they could check if they do this, they could check if they've used used any of these. So we know that it's approved,
Okay, well, so,
as opposed to, I bought boards.
okay, all right, so let me ask this, so if problem, so if you said you have noise mitigation, you have soundproofing panels, yes. There's a drop down on the form. If they pick one of these, are we good?
Can we be good?
can we say like you have to use one of these and that's it? If you don't,
Well,
you
they
get
don't have
denied?
to, but if they do, then we're calmer
Yeah.
when they come in, and we're faster to say yes. Cause we know that these are real things that people use.
Well, it could just be an, additional paper in the package, doesn't have to be on the application. You can't force people to spend I'm sure some of the stuff is probably 5 times as much as.
This green glue
something
noise proofing
else.
compound with sealant and clip is not expensive. I
It may
know,
not be expensive to you, but you don't know. That's just.
I do know,
just-
cause I
But you don't
tried
know
in my
In
head.
the parts of the business's
Their
budget.
budget.
I
So
get
I
it.
think the problem would be us saying you have to do one of these, or them thinking that you have to do one of these in order to get the approval of the board. I think that that's us going too far in the management of how they decide to run their business. We can just say no or we can rule against it, but I don't think that we have the authority to.
I don't think we have the authority, but we can, these are suggested soundproofing for for the people that are applying.
We
These
can
are suggested
recommend it as a recommendation when we ask them what their noise mitigation plan is and it doesn't sound too concrete. We can say, we recommend that if you do not have a plan and this is a possibility, go forth with
Take a
these
look at these.
recommendations here. I also recommend that they truly come, rather than us ask the questions, like how Antilles Cafe came with an actual bulleted aspect of all the different ways that noise creeps, expands, and they actually have a mitigation plan. I think that would be a great question, I think it's a great question of asking them, well, they don't have to technically include it because it is asked, but I don't know, I just think that level of presentation that they brought here it took them to a really good level.
Okay. And you know, and to that point, maybe as opposed to telling them that we have the resource that's available, but make them come up with a document. So that's
Yes,
part of our
yeah,
thing where it's
yeah.
like, tell us what your noise mitigation plan is.
Mhm.
You know, so I don't know if you have to get into the details of, I put, noise killer 525 or whatever it is or anything like that, but at least it makes them think about, well, what is the noise mitigation plan? How are we handling that? And hopefully that gives us a little bit of an idea that they thought of it and they can kind of describe what they're doing to do that. So we're not doing live music, we're not doing amplified stuff, we're doing this, or we put stuff on acoustic tiling or whatever it is, but they can at least describe that, and it takes some of the guesswork out for us. So once we get the package, you can look at it and say, okay, that sounds good, and we can focus the questions with that. So, so that's something I think maybe we think about, whether it's like we wanna make sure that that's a mandatory question, where it's like, what is your noise mitigation plan, and they have to provide information.
I think if there's tenants, it's probably a mandatory question we have to consider.
Could be,
The tenants, and, I don't think it hurts, I think it also helps to give them something
I also,
to, look at least.
I agree, cause
Give them
sometimes
some
they
idea, they
don't,
may
sometimes
have
they
a
don't
clue.
even know exactly. They don't even know what to use for soundproofing, and if we're saying, these are some options, they're like, okay, let's check which is the cheapest, or what's the least expensive, or what could I, let me go through.
No, don't disagree. I think this is something we should make available. We should definitely make available, and they can incorporate that. So once they have that list, okay, well, listen, what options do I have? Let me look at the, okay, we can do that. And then that goes into the plan that they submit. We submitted, whatever item.
I would say, a noise mitigation plan is not obligatory, but it's highly recommended that you bring it when you submit your application.
It's a consideration.
I also thought we could just add in another portion. This says the hours, but this hours of liquor serving, if
Yeah,
there's
no,
another one.
Yeah.
It's.
Can I just ask something? What sits with the building management in regards to when the lease is signed? Because very often when you're looking at commercial property, it will say no food, they make the recommendation of how they would like for this commercial space to be made use of. And then we of course come in, and that's the great part of being the community board, because it's an integrity aspect, because building management or landlords or building owners sometimes don't care, but how far do they place it that it leads closer to them? Or this is just me speaking out loud, because you're putting a bar in, you have tenants. Have you told the new upcoming commercial leasee listen, we have tenants above that require a quality of life, that's, you know, and by you having the space, then it may impede upon that. So I'm always sort of puzzled, or is it just profit over people? Which
Probably
part?
the
It's
latter.
the latter.
I
Yeah,
think it's
it's the
probably the
latter.
latter.
Yeah.
Once they get that property rented,
Yeah.
Yeah, they,
The only thing that might influence that, I think, is the certificate of occupancy, what they can do in the space.
Right,
That
yeah.
might be the only thing that influences,
Yeah.
but as far as I'm concerned, listen, once they rent you the commercial space, that's for you to deal with, and all those headaches are yours, and you gotta deal with that. Yeah, so unfortunately, I think sadly that's the answer. But that's part of the reason why we wanna have these conversations, to kind of figure out how do we mitigate some of these things in advance, so that way there's not a tension between the restaurant trying to make a buck and everybody who's trying to sleep a buck.
But I definitely think that adding, what is your noise mitigation plan is really.
That's a fair
good.
question.
Right.
No, that's a fair question.
it's them on notice that we will
Right.
ask
That we are
question.
looking at
Right.
that, yes.
And it makes them actually think and deep dive into it.
Yeah.
Because you're not always going to have it, we saw the tale of two businesses, one actually with a plan
Right.
and one where it's up in the air.
Yeah,
Without
so
the
if
fades
we
and the-
just got it, we
Right.
just got it
Yeah.
someplace in my place.
But I think it's a good direction to go, and I agree with you.
Because it goes along to what you said, last thing is, as much as we think it's great for businesses, there is an integrity aspect that again comes with just running a business. And when people have to come in, it's like an interview, they say yes, but then the execution, if it doesn't have to be, or maybe there's a switch on budget or anything else, sometimes they may not execute it, and that can create issues later down the line. But thank you for this, because I have it saved in my computer. just
yes,
to
so,
see.
Yeah.
And-
No, I know there's a lot of trees on the table right now.
Yeah, it was PDF City when I opened it.
Yeah.
Right, so it's, as I just printed out the most important pieces for roads, so.
One of the things I wanted to point to is this as well. I want us to be very clear that, one of the concerns I have, and I always know that we wanna be tough and fair-minded, and we wanna make sure that we are, we're trying to do this. The state liquor authority, the way they look at this, is more likely that they are inclined to give the license.
Right.
Our job is to say, oh, no, there's no reason, there's no way you can give this because there's something that is really bad. And what is really bad has to be really bad. So it's not a matter of, okay, well, there's something, I hate the idea of alcohol service.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can't be that.
It's not
There has to be
prohibition.
something significant that does it.
Right.
So what we wanna make sure is that if we are putting objections or stipulations or whatever else, that there's something that they're reasonable, they're well-founded, and it's something that, okay, well, fine, we're working with the business to keep them doing. Like, for example, it's like, and it'll be a question that we still have to get to that in terms of what's the magic number in terms of what time they close. But, when we say 2:00, I think we've had a very good history in terms of SLA's been like, no, 2 is reasonable. If we said 9:00, SLA is gonna be like, you're really not being fair or trying to help the business do anything. So I wanna make.
88 Knox told us that they can think about what we recommended to them, but they're free to keep it open as they're free to keep it open.
That's right.
That was her call, that was her
She's
call out.
exactly what she said.
And so when
She said legally
when-
we're allowed to
Yeah,
be.
when we
I'm
wrap
like,
this up, I'd like to call out a few things from that meeting.
Absolutely.
So-
No,
What-
it's so different.
I left before we voted. What, did it get voted? Did it get approved?
The rest of the board thought that everything else that we had mentioned didn't count for anything, and they moved forward, and we had moved
Are
with
you
stipulation.
serious?
But it's very interesting how here, the committee, we said no, we all was essentially said
And then
no.
everyone else,
And then everyone, so how
What's our point?
important, yeah,
What's the
how
point of us coming here
Yeah.
and
Did
spending
you
our
say that
time?
a little louder at the meeting?
But here's the thing, okay, but
I
here's the
wasn't
thing,
there.
at
Was
the
it
meeting,
council?
here's the thing,
Israel.
and looking at the minutes,
No,
when we
this
came
has
back
to
in
be
December,
January.
we had said, the application is okay, the one stipulation we have is that if this goes from this board, it's gonna be a 2 AM shutdown.
Yeah.
Now, that's what we communicate to SLA, it's like, we don't have a problem with this application, but only up until 2 AM. So if they insist on 4, then let it be known we object. Fully we object. If they're gonna push that for 4 AM, they're gonna do that. Now, what's gonna end up happening is SLA is gonna make a decision. they're gonna say, you know what, they can do it, and they're gonna go around us, in which case we had no power.
And you
anyway.
can detect that they're going to go around us.
Yeah, maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure.
I think, I'm gonna tell you why I think they're gonna go around us. From their initial inception when they came here in November and the recommendations that we made to them.
Right.
Right.
When he came back in December, he didn't complete these.
Right.
Have you ever heard of the Van Halen Green M&M
Yes.
story? Okay, which is, and so the reason why we gave these stipulations is because we initially didn't think it was going to have that much great integrity and create a quality of life issue. By making the recommendation of, this person does want to be a good partner within the community, so therefore they will commit this exercise to show you that they're a good partner, right?
Right.
Didn't commit the exercise, and what was stated by their representative at the board meeting was, I called the office and they told me we didn't have to do that, because I called that out. I said, we had recommended for you to get signatures, and she said, well, I called the office and they said that we didn't have to do it.
Okay,
They
so,
did get some signatures.
no, they did, no, now here's the thing, now, let's talk about the signature piece of it specifically with that one. The thing is,
And hold on, I'm sorry, I'm not to interrupt you, but there's a conclusion to why I mentioned that.
Sure.
And so by recommending that with the signatures was the recommendation, similar to the Van Halen Green M&M aspect, is that they were being tied to something and would be detail oriented. And so therefore, if they could at least do this early action within the community, then we think that they would partner upon, once they open up business, and would still be good within the community.
Right.
The backstory within this specific purveyor is the other location that they do have is noise pollution. Now, we had been there,
Oh,
but
really?
going
Where
there
is
once or twice, we're not creating that much noise. It's a venue in itself, right? And so that's the fear, is that this location, and also not getting the information from the schools, disregarding the board and additional attendees who made the mention of the school. And I say this all because we really hope that upon opening, that much of what we had mentioned, noise pollution, the aspect that this around the school, they totally disregarded it. And so there is highly an integrity issue
Yeah.
and a lack of wanting to work with the community, right? All of the recommendations and suggestions, even also that filibuster long ass presentation.
I wasn't
You
there.
weren't there,
I-
right?
I
It
was
super long.
overseas,
And-
but
and may I just say.
I missed it, I heard.
Right, and may I just say, can I just make a recommendation? Because I, I get very passionate during the general meetings, but they were allotted so much time, which then ended us actually taking care of board business, which then meant when Pearl's wash tub came up, you made the statement to them to hurry up. And I called you out on it and said, he shouldn't have to hurry up, because sometimes that's stuck subconsciously where people start stuttering and jittering, where she gave us a full presentation of the Old Testament. That is how long it was that she ran. And
Who was
it
this
was-
she?
so they brought another
The
person
older, she
in,
has
right?
Ah.
Right, so they brought another person in, a woman who's possibly either the lawyer who manages it
Right.
or the consultant. Yeah.
She's not the owner, because the
No.
ad said
No,
that.
she was a representative.
She
She's
was
a
a
lawyer.
representative, so I
Now-
figure she's either a consultant for liquor licenses or a lawyer,
right,
so.
so now here's,
That's my call out from the
Because
general
they,
meeting.
cause they're they want it for big people like this.
And also, can I just say this?
And that's why they said they were gonna spend big money to get whatever they wanted.
Right.
That was the bottom line.
Yeah, and I've worked in M&E, meetings and events, and I'm gonna be very honest with you. I love Crown Heights. However, places like Google, which are located on 9th and 15th, are not going to, and Google has 15,000 employees in that building. It is not plausible that they are going to come to this area for an event. Now, maybe people will say, oh, I live around here, we'll come here, but when most people are doing work-related events, it is close to the work space
Right.
naturally, because then it's either we come from the office, and then it's within close proximity of where they're going. I thought it was a great tell us, and maybe it got into the ears of other, but you can't BS a BSer, you know?
So what do you think she's gonna have?
It's probably going to be events, but it's not, I doubt that they kept saying corporate clients, but
Right.
I don't foresee it, just because if any of us, wherever you work, you're not going to travel 12 train stops on the 2 train from 14th and 7th Avenue to President Street for an event. Now, not to say events won't take place, or a birthday dinner, or events won't take place, but pushing that aspect of, or maybe I just saw through the BS.
Well, and they also
But
said
Well,
that
well,
are
but-
you
but-
familiar with the owners?
Easy
The
person,
owners
person
are
profiting.
That's
some
what
of
I'm
the people
saying.
from Rogers Gardens.
Yeah,
So that's the same crowd that's gonna be there. But
So
in
Rogers
a-
Garden has a huge outdoor, that's why you hear them till who knows when. Allenby, it was called Allenby, two of my daughters were hostesses there, they closed at 11. So, well, they have a liquor license for, yeah, they closed at 11. They do have a downstairs room that's soundproof like a tomb. So I don't, even
But
if they're
it's small,
open.
it's small.
No,
There
it
used to be
is.
a coat room and stuff like
No,
that.
I don't know, no, I think there's at least room for 50 people there. They could have a corporate event party. I just don't see it going on till 4 AM, but
Well,
maybe.
yeah,
Since I'm old.
I
just,
see it
just,
going to 4 AM, but it's not a corporate crowd.
Right.
And that's what that is sort of the unspoken aspect.
Right.
but one of
And
the
that's
things we
what
have
we
to be
didn't want
careful.
in a
Well,
neighborhood bar.
But one of the things we have to be careful of is, it's not necessarily the board's role to approve of the business plan, in terms of if that's their business, that's their business. The parameters they operate in, that's ours.
Right.
So in other words, it's like, if you want a taco bar, if you want a, cocktail, if you want, whatever that is, that's your business, we know. But it's a matter of, okay, the parameters you're gonna operate in, we need to make sure that the people upstairs from you are okay. We need to make sure people aren't
And
going
not
drunk
just
outside.
upstairs, within
Well, yeah.
surrounding areas.
Right, that there's a certain, there's a certain commitment to the quality of life and everything, that there's nothing that is untoward or just really that's gonna create a situation that's gonna be very problematic. But we also have to be very careful as we do that, in terms of, we need to approach with a certain amount of reasonableness, because the assumption is going to be from SLA that, listen, they didn't violate 200-foot, they're not a 500-foot issue. Legally, they are allowed to serve between such time and such time. If we have an objection over the stipulations we're putting, we wanna make sure we're consistent and reasonable. And that's the main thing, are we consistent and are we reasonable? The issue that happened, and I want to address that as well, the issue with, if we haven't told anybody else, because I think, I can't remember the number now, I'm getting old. We either ask for 25 or 50 or some number of signatures that we ask for, typically that they get signatures in the community, in terms of they understand this was going on, this support there. It becomes problematic if all of a sudden they come to us and say, you know what, I don't quite trust your organization, so now I need you specifically to go out and get another 100 signatures, because that's not something we do to anybody else.
Maybe I wasn't aware, we had all agreed on it here on the board.
Right, no, and I'm saying,
And-
even if we do it as a committee, the problem is if we're not
I
consistent with that.
abstained in general, I
Right.
just didn't like their vibe.
Understood, and that's fine, and that's fair to say, no, I'm not comfortable with this at all, and we go there.
You would've been.
But to add layers to it becomes problematic,
Okay.
especially if we don't do that consistently, because we don't say,
I think that those layers were added because when we were asking the questions in the initial, there was not a lot of valid responses. And it was sort of, well, yeah, sort of, kind of, and when we asked about like a noise plan, a security aspect,
Right.
you're saying you're gonna have a DJ and open till 4 o'clock, okay, then there's usually someone at the door. You're saying, no, we're not gonna have security, and so then people are asking, okay, well then if it's not security, then spillage
Right.
won't be regulated as much, and then if you're not worried about spillage, and you're not worried about the community, and so therefore,
well,
you know.
but that's the reason why it's important we have these conversations, because we're setting up expectations from the beginning. In terms of, if you come before the board, we're gonna, hours are gonna be this, the expectation is this, you have noise mitigation, and whatever other parameters we decide that we wanna make sure are part of the application.
Yeah, but then when it goes to general board, and if they say,
Right.
oh, we don't care.
And she
Well,
told me.
well, here's the
Bring
thing.
it on, bring it on.
Part of what's gonna end up happening is,
Did you hear her
That
say
was
Rogers
pretty hard
Garden?
for me as
What'd she
someone
say
that
about
goes
Rogers
to
Garden?
these
Right.
comes- As someone who comes to these meetings and I participate, I ask questions, and we said that almost everyone said no or abstained from voting, and it was just like disregarded, and everyone just
I think
What is
that
it
other
for?
people on the board make up extreme different dynamics and demographics. We have people who are transplants, we have people who are business owners, and we have people who have very niche, specific reasons why they've joined the board,
well,
and some of it clashes.
And-
And this is my very political and diplomatic way of stating.
and
how we
this, but
ended
this is
up
the
in that
reason
number.
why we're doing this work here, because part of what we're going to do is establish what the parameters are. Now, what's gonna end up happening in terms of that, we establish what the parameters are, so if there's closing times that we are going to uniform, say we're gonna be uniform, if there's a way, rhyme or a reason, we're gonna vote on it in committee, it will go to the full board for a vote.
Yeah,
And
but then the
part of
full
what's-
board can
Well,
say they're not concerned with what the
Well,
conditions may
well,
be.
And
part-
I
no, no,
honestly
part-
believe a lot of the full board is not truly, I don't know if they don't care, aware, or it's not in their wheelhouse. in the aspect of specifically SLA and
Right.
in regards to public safety.
Well, here's the thing, part of what ends up happening is when it goes to the board, then you find people find their soapbox that they're gonna stand on and do.
Right.
And that's the reason why we need to make sure that it's
That
done here.
note.
That's
Is it
why we
Sunday?
wanna do it here. It's like, you know what, we're not gonna argue over and over about, well, should they close at 2 AM or 3 AM or 4 AM? If we have a standard where it's like, no, it's a standard. So somebody says, I wanna vote that they can only close at 5, they have to close by 9 o'clock. That's out of order because our standard is, this is what it is. And we're gonna avoid those conversations. That's not a conversation. If it's about noise mitigation plans, we will have that, and that's why we're doing the homework up front. No. This is what the loss is in terms of New York City and what we can stipulate and what we can do. And they've already agreed to that part, or they've already complied. So this is not a conversation, this is not a vote, this is not,
Right.
they have, they can't have anything above speaking, whisper mode. We wanna get rid of those conversations. So, and that's part of the problem. So it's like, we wanna make sure that by doing this, we're gonna come up with something that sounds good. Perfect? No.
Right.
But it'll be good. It'll be decent.
And maybe
You
look
wanna
at
tell me that by that meeting, they all agreed to the 4 AM?
that meeting, no, it wasn't the 4 AM part that they agreed to.
Well, the vote
It was-
passed.
It
What-
vote passed.
No.
They agreed
The
to-
vote that went through the board is that we stuck with the committee's recommendation was fine, with a stipulation, they shut it down by 2. So that's what's going to the state liquor authority. Their application can say 4, the letter's gonna say, CB9 said, oh, we were okay with them, but they gotta shut it down by 2.
And they told
But then
us we
she
can
said-
keep it open until 4.
Well, no,
Yeah.
she's saying they're keeping their
She
application.
said, I can listen, well, excuse me, I'm paraphrasing it, this is not quote by
Right.
quote. I can listen to you guys, that doesn't mean we have to,
Well, they don't have to change their application.
right?
So in other
Well,
words,
that's not what she
they,
said.
well, no, here's the thing.
That's a nice.
They're saying,
you're
well, they're
making
saying
a
they
nice
didn't, well, they
point.
were
She
saying
didn't
is,
say
they
that.
didn't wanna change their application, because they said, well, listen,
I don't
legally,
understand, so why didn't you get up and
If
say, okay,
legally
we
the
will
state
note
says-
it,
You weren't
that you
there.
want
I
it
got-
ignored?
I spoke a lot.
Everyone,
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
you
everyone
did.
from
You
the
gotta talk.
committee.
Their point is they're saying
I
legally.
was overseas,
Right.
I was in Israel.
But I mean, listen,
It's a
they
little
can
hard to
legally
go.
say,
And believe me, that she, that
they
she
can
said
legally
she
say,
wasn't
you know
on,
what?
nothing
We
she
believe that we
wasn't
wanna
on
stay
Tuesday.
open until 4.
Uh-huh.
Our recommendation is going
I wasn't
forward for
going.
2 o'clock. And as a matter of fact, I'll check in with Dante and them, and I'll just listen, I want them to be very clear. We didn't have a problem with the application, but just because we've always been consistent with a 2 AM shutdown time, I think it's a bad precedent to all of a sudden let people do what they wanna do, or all of a sudden, just because they have it on the application, they think they can stay open until 4 in the district.
But what she's saying is if the SLA gives them till 4 AM, what can we do?
Well, there's nothing we can do, and that's part of the reason why I
Right.
put this
And
out.
that's
There
what-
is
and
nothing we
that-
can
And
do.
that's something she stated, were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
There
We had the
is
paper.
Yeah,
It said
she
they-
stated
the
that
liquor
it
license
don't-
said
she
they
doesn't
stay
have to
open
follow
until
our
4.
If you thought the
Right.
original
Says-
dude, what you weren't too crazy
Shady.
about, oh,
It was.
Honey was like, I'm the, thank you, she was
Five
telling,
people that
yeah,
standing.
she was telling, it just, I mean, of course, we can't, go, I just strongly feel, and I really hope at the same time, that they do partner well with the community, but knowing their
It
previous
didn't sound
business
like it.
and this, and also, I don't know, I just felt like, well, what's the, two aspects. One, I felt I wanted to definitely beat into everyone's head in the board, what's the point of us and the recommendations we make
Right.
if you guys are gonna be like, oh yeah, but then there's people, but again, we speak as residents, there's also people here who have businesses, there's also people who are borderline lobbyists.
Right.
So,
Right,
and I'm being nice when I say
part of-
lobbyists.
and the thing is, the
you
reason
know.
why we have these conversations and you see the different things that pop out of these is because we don't have a consistent board standard. So yeah, the committee recommended that, but I still don't feel we should have alcohol service in the district at all. So I may vote no, or I may put some kind of a competing resolution saying I don't want something to happen.
So with that, so I guess in our next meeting, we will have a more formulated, say, wireframe of what we're thinking in regards
Yeah.
to.
And
So,
then the general committee cannot come and start saying, oh, well, I wanted a
They
different
will.
time. It's
But
like,
we
too
have
bad,
concrete.
this was already
Right.
set by us, and this is our,
Well,
this
well, here's the key, here's the
We,
key.
we were,
Here's the key in terms of
it was
process.
agreed that we were part of the committee, and that's it,
Well,
that's the
well,
job
no,
you
here's
gave
the
over
key.
to us.
Here's the key, we're doing this work here in committee, the next step would be for the board to adopt it.
Yes.
To say,
Right, that's what I was
this
gonna
is
say.
what
Yeah.
we're doing as a board.
Right,
So,
Right.
we're doing a lot of the legwork,
right.
and, I want us to have some tough skin, because most of it, I anticipate will go through.
Right.
There may be some subtle
Yeah.
changes, but at the very least, at the end of that process, we are consistent.
Right,
Yes.
And there are just certain conversations we're not gonna have. It's like, no, we adopted this as a board
right.
on the board website, and this is the
Right.
criteria for SLA applications in the district.
Yes.
And these are the 5, 6, 7, 10 things that we
I
say.
really
or-
wish I would
on
go
the
and put
website.
a
It's on the
sign
website.
in the building and
That's
say,
So,
if you have any problems with the noise from this restaurant, please call 311.
They know,
All those
but
things.
some of them know, and some of them know. I think that many people think when our city, when the effect, making the 311 complaint and seeing change takes a long time or it doesn't happen. And many people want things done yesterday. So they think, I'm gonna make a 311 call, and this place is gonna get shut down, everybody's gonna get round up, and they're going to go to Attica. You know, and that's kind of, you know, how explosive people are in regards to things, because 311 is noted. I know, I use it, I call it a lot, but I think that that's one thing. Two, I think that not enough people do it, right? Because then you'll tell them, and then whatever city agency that
That's what
the
I'm
noise
saying.
goes to, the complaint goes to, and they're like, oh, we need tons of people. Not everybody wants to be a lead, you know, everybody wants to be, you know, to do all of that work. And why is it that we need hundreds of complaints for something that, you know, you know what I mean?
right, well, this is the thing. I
Well,
mean,
we don't need hundreds of votes though, if they,
Exactly.
how many 311 calls do we have to get for us not to renew a license?
How many do we have to get? I don't know.
There's no-
I don't know.
Forget
I don't
it,
know.
just-
I mean, listen, depending on what the 311 complaint is,
Right.
it might be big enough by itself, well, we can go shut the thing down right now.
Right.
So I can't tell you if it's 3, 4, 5, 20, maybe the one depending on what it is sufficient. But, you know, it kind of speaks to the point where it's like, we're going to develop a policy, and that's going to be the policy. But there's going to be plenty more work to do in terms of, we talked about an education piece. How do we get out to the community? How do we let people know what your recourse is if you're having a problem?
Right, right.
So yeah,
That's a
part of it
big
is,
thing.
yeah, if
That's
you
a
are having a
big thing.
problem, this is who you can call. And I wanna make sure CP9 is the additional resource on that. You're
Right.
not by yourself.
Right,
So
and
you don't
we're
have to just
listening,
complain.
even if you don't see a change right away, we're listening, we're noting
Absolutely.
it. It's, you know,
That's
it's on
a
our
board
radar.
member. I tell people, contact your board, contact your local politician, make the
Absolutely.
311 calls. I'm not gonna make the work for you, I'm not gonna do the work for you, but here is, some people know the chain of command, some people don't.
Right.
And we communicate it.
And just to project a little bit as well, what I'm looking for, the vision I hope happens with this, once we get this, and especially again, once we have something that's consistent, it's clear, we're reasonable, we do this is something that I think we'll be able to get buy-in from a lot of other places. I think this is something we should share with our state legislators,
Agreed.
because that's gonna be the backup in terms of,
Mhm.
listen, we worked with them, and if they wanna insist and be jerks about this, we need your back. So somebody from your office needs to make a phone call to SLA and say, listen, that
This,
can't fly.
this might sound crazy, but just like they have to post on the window,
That they submitted.
that they submitted, could we have them post if there's any, if you feel that there's some kind of issue, you may call 311 and this and that, or whatever.
It's possible. I'm not gonna say no. I think it's possible. It's just a matter of that's the work we have to do to figure out what would that look like.
Yeah,
So
Having the organization or the business post on their door someplace
Yeah.
that
like on a truck,
is there.
when it says, if you have a problem with the way we're driving, you can call this, you know what I mean?
here's the thing, and this is a quick conversation because it's like we're still getting information. But one of the things the office did is they did outreach to SLA. So one of the things SLA did say is that no, one of the requirements they have to do is they have to post and say, oh, listen, I'm applying for a license. So they got to put it on their window.
Yeah, so they did put that, we saw that when we went to,
Right.
but
And
now,
part of what we can probably do is maybe we design a posting where it's like,
If you
okay,
share residential space or mixed use space,
Yeah.
that is also mandatory, because sometimes they just do it, again, when they really want the license and they wanna be part of the community, they do all the things, they present, and they put it with a bow, and then you have other people that show up however, right?
right.
And so maybe the regulatory is, if this is a mixed use space, notification needs to be made in the common area of the mixed use space that you've opened up. And also, if you do know of, in the future, of any noise issues, this is your resource that you make.
right,
The only thing that I have to say about that is sometimes some residents will
Call
make
for any little thing.
false
It
claims.
happens.
Because
there
I
are
was
annoying
at,
people, but
Not in my
do you remember-
district.
No, do you remember Trove, the week after they opened up,
Yeah.
I went there, and I remember a tenant from upstairs came in and was just like, I don't want you guys playing loud music, and I'm just like,
And then
wonder-
people have sensitivity to noise
yeah, yes, I agree, but
in an
I
annoying way.
wonder,
And have Carrington and
I
were
wonder
ignoring-
if people will now make false complaints
Well,
against.
Was it
these
loud?
people.
Well, here's the
It was
thing.
not loud,
It wasn't
there was no
even
music
loud.
playing.
Well, here's the
It was
thing.
a
Well, then you
sound
can check, and someone will come check it out and see
And
it's
that's the
fine,
piece,
and
and that's
that's
the
it.
And
piece.
people make false complaints no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
And
That's
here's the
kind of
thing.
the New York.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, if we got 40 complaints, all coming from the same phone number. You know, one, we can kind of one determine that there might be a really determined crank,
Okay.
or, you know what? We do our due diligence, where it's like, okay, no,
What's
you
the
talk to
source of
DEP,
this?
or you talk to DEP and say, listen, we're getting a complaint. Can you possibly do the measurements to say, listen, you know, because the same way, it's like, you ever see like when they put the strips across the road to measure how many, what the traffic is? DEP, I'm sure, has certain, you know, things where they can go and they can measure ambient sound.
Yeah,
So if it's truly a problem, we can say, listen, DEP, can you step in and measure the sound?
Yeah.
Measure the sound and let's see what's coming through. So that way we can make a determination about, no, there's a real problem, or it's like, no, there's a crank. There is a crank. And we can kind of get that information. It's not gonna be perfect, we're not gonna always get it 100% right, but I think at least if we put processes in place where it's like, all right, well, listen, there's a good faith effort that's being made all around. One, we want the applicants to make a good faith effort. Two, we want, you know, we want to make sure our agencies are accountable too. So it's like, you know what, if there's a 311 complaint, and this is what, you know, I'm talking with Dante and the team about. If you see a lot of 311 complaints, what's our next step? What are we doing? How do we follow up on these noise complaints, especially if it's a noise complaint against one place all the time? Then the next step should be, as a board, as a district, no, let's check it out. What's going on? And again, having those conversations where it's like, if somebody's just really being a bad neighbor, okay, we can talk to, because SLA can pull an applicant, they can pull a license anytime they need to, if somebody's being a bad applicant. Or,
They've done it in 80.
they've
That
done it,
former strip club.
or, so Fred with the soft heart is like, you know what, maybe we can bring people to a table and say, let's have a conversation. Your noise is too loud. What can we do to make this better? So maybe you need to change your paneling, maybe you need to look at your hours, maybe you need to think about how you're doing this. But what can we do to make it better for everybody? Okay. All right,
So
so,
can I ask a question? So
Sure.
we're gonna have a template fundamentally next week? Are we all gonna contribute or come with ideas on what we're going to
No,
come
the
with?
next meeting, and then we'll see it. So I think our next public safety meeting, we'll kind of have the wireframe.
Yeah.
Look at it, and then take it from there. I don't think we have a wireframe to then bring to the board.
not yet, I mean, I think, you know, it'll probably take a couple of
We also
stabs
need
at
to
it.
tell the board that any issues that they have or questions that they have, maybe come to a public safety meeting. Cause it's a lot, and that's something I always say also is, okay, well, come to a public safety meeting, you know? You've
Right.
got a lot to say, come and see how.
And that'll be it, I mean, I think
It's
once we
done.
get the wireframe up and we can kind of visualize and we have an
Mhm.
idea, we can set up what the next steps are in terms of getting the buy-in and the input.
Yeah.
And to your point, you know, the one thing we don't want to do is have this on the floor at the board,
No,
because that'll never get done and you have a whole bunch of things. But if we can get that buy-in, if we can announce, it's like, listen, this is something, and who knows, make it a bigger thing where it's like, okay, listen, publicly, this is a wireframe we're setting up for criteria for SLA. Come, we want your input. Speak now. You know, if you're a business, come speak now. If you're a resident, come speak now. If you're somebody who lives over this, please come and weigh in on what the issues and the challenges are. But I think, you know, the more we can put on the front side, but especially by the time we get to the board, we can say, listen, we did A, B, C, and D. This is the research we've done. These are all the different documents we looked at. These are the best practices we've seen done in other places. We've had conversations with SLA, with DEP, with whatever other alphabet agency you want to put in there and everything like that. And this is a good effort in terms of trying to make sure that this is a process that we can live with. It won't satisfy everybody 100%, but it's decent. And hopefully the outcomes are, it's streamlined, we set expectations,
Yeah.
the board conversations are smoother, we all know what we're looking at, we know what's in bounds and what's out of bounds, and we have better mechanisms for tracking that people are complying.
agreed. Is there a reason why 887 Nosh was able to like run on for 30 to 35 minutes? Was there like a reason? Cause I was looking at you guys to like cut them.
The buck stops here, the buck stops here with me. I will own that, no, only because they came and they started talking, and I'm trying to give her, And you know what? It's not something that happens often. More often than not, people come up and it's like,
It's max 5 minutes.
hey, yeah, more often than not, they're like, hey, how you doing? I'm so and so, blah blah blah. This is my business, and they've already told us everything we need to know. They definitely felt a way about the entire process, and they felt very strong about their 4 a.m. and that's why they went on. I was trying to not cut them off or look like, no, you need to shut up now, and do that, and be that
I
person.
mean, we do it to a lot of other people.
Sometimes we have
Sometimes
to.
we
No, and
We
to be
didn't
clear.
finish all of our business.
No, and to be
we
clear,
had to
and
speed
to
up
be
at
clear,
the end.
to be clear, I own that piece. That piece I own. And we're going to look at that, and I need to set that expectation, and it'll be something we set from now on. Say hi. You've already said everything you needed to say to the committee, and the other questions, the board, as chair, I will answer those questions to the best I can to. But otherwise, I think we do a pretty good job in terms of, we usually covered most of this already by now.
And also, can I tell you, they talked about their menu and how they're culinary, I'm stuck on them. And it's they're a culinary place, culinary, but you really wanna keep it open to 4 a.m.
Right.
And here's the thing, Epicurean experiences and 4 a.m. usually don't go together. Diners, yes.
Right.
But it's a different genre and it's a different thing. When you're
Right.
talking about a diner, 24-hour diner, yeah, they may have drinks, but it's more in regards to related more to food. They kept pushing this aspect that they are a restaurant and it's an Epicurean experience.
they were
but
trying-
they wanted because they were trying to convince the other
They were
fools
trying to
who
make,
did not
they were trying to make a
the
sale to the
BS.
full board. They were
Yeah.
trying to make a sale to the
Also
full
wanna
board.
have, some
works.
Well, no. Here's what the funny thing is. The only thing,
lines that like
it didn't work because what ended up happening at the end of the day was the recommendation we passed is what went. They got approved with 2 a.m., which is what we had voted on in December. They got approved with 2 a.m. Now, they're saying, well, they're gonna carry this fight on to SLA, and I'm like, well, good luck with
Fight
that.
on.
Good luck with that. But as far as CB9 is concerned, we've already spoken. We said, no, this application, if it goes forward, it's 2 a.m. stop.
And they're fighting us and they're right across the street from the community board. I mean,
And they are. And here's the thing, and
gonna
they
send my
and you
are.
know who said that? My
3 a.m.
mom said that, cause she was there. She was like, where are they located? And I told her, and she was like, oh, this is, I mean, who, but,
Yeah, whatever, I just wanna know if they're gonna end up being open till 4 a.m.
That's a separate conversation, so the district office and I will follow up with that. All right, so listen, but thank you everybody for the
We're
conversation.
gonna have
with
to have
respect to
both
this.
tags outside.
I'll be there.
We're gonna try and see if we
You
can.
can call 311 if this is noisy.
All right, just 30 seconds more, 30 seconds more just to set up. So what we're gonna try and do is we're gonna try and take some of this information and see if we can get that wireframe. It'll be really ugly, rough wireframe, but at least it'll be something that kind of organizes it a little bit. And we'll take the feedback and we'll see where we are from there.
Who's doing the wireframe?
I'll take a stab at it. We'll see what we can put together.
You
If
mean by
anybody,
wireframe, you mean a new application?
a new application.
Okay, so here's this
That's
chart,
a
okay?
wireframe.
And I wrote here, a noise mitigation plan is not mandatory, but is highly recommended.
I got it.
Agreed.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll try to incorporate that as well. And just in general, just setting up kind of, just kind of policy guide in terms of these are the guidance, the
It could
guidance.
just be a one sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. I mean, I'll take a stab at it. Listen, whatever I put forward is gonna change.
Right, and you can bring it to us and then we can mark it out.
Yeah, we'll test it and we can just get.
Yeah,
But
you're really tired.
And try to get DEP to come get the foot.
And we are working on DEP, SLA, and
It would be
also
nice if SLA comes as well.
SLA, we contacted them. They're willing to come and do a training. Now, it's a training that I wanna figure out when it works best because I don't want to necessarily have to do it twice. I would love for the committee to get it.
Can we get advance notice more than a week,
Of
before they're doing the training? Because normally, even recently, there was a training and it wasn't a lot of time to plan to attend it.
Remember I told you,
Yeah.
Maybe we can get like a month.
Yeah, that's what she said.
At least 2 weeks, because borough president, and then they always send in ones to your house.
No, that's 10, it's 9.
Meeting.
I understand.
But also, I
look
have
first.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, on days across the borough
Right.
that boards, and then I'm not trying to go to anything on a Thursday and Friday. And so there's conflict, and there's like low attendance.
All right, well, let's just do this. We stand adjourned. Time is now 9:10 p.m. Thank you very much.
Everyone have their jackets on.
Oh, it's